We are live, thank fuck. Jesus. We
Oh, we
somehow...
are. First try. I'm
First
glad
try,
there's no
exactly.
issues here.
Definitely didn't took us like an hour or so.
And more just
Oh no,
desperate.
Douglas tells us we aren't live.
Oh, I see it live.
Yeah, don't trust the British guy.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
lying.
I think this guy is trying to fuck with me.
Okay, now we just have to pray that the stream doesn't crash
Oh.
midway through.
Now he says we are live. Yeah, maybe if this just like crashes at the end, like before we're done with the last thing, that would be...
Do you know about that in one Mothran's? I think it's when we watched the last Airbender movie by Shyamalan.
Oh, okay.
I showed the credits because Kathleen Kennedy's name was in them and we laughed at it. But it played too long, so we got copyright struck, and then the stream was out for like 2 minutes and we didn't realize.
Okay, that's hilarious. Yeah. Jesus, yes. Technology is fucking hard, I guess. Well, welcome everybody to a slightly belated TheJadedTalk number 39. Today, finally, we get to speak about the first book of the new Jedi Order series, Vector Prime. I'm joined once again by the lovely and very patient Pico and Noah. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Isn't this great? Before we even get into it, we have to really take this in for a moment.
Uh-huh.
You read almost the entire Bantam era.
Yes.
Just to get here.
Just to
get
this
here. One book.
Yes.
How do you feel?
I feel like somebody owes me money, but I don't quite know who.
That's only because you didn't read the Bounty Hunter Wars yet. So you missed part of...
You're missing
Probably.
crucial elements.
I haven't read Shadows of the Empire and some other Bantam slop, so I'm probably not gonna get everything. There might be some mention of a drug cartel, and without Shadows of the Empire, I couldn't possibly know what that means actually.
I mean, you were already lost during Young Jedi Knights when they brought in the Black Sun.
Exactly, yeah. I've never heard of them. Never. I didn't even play them in my fun MMO. Like I didn't get to kill hundreds of them. I don't know what they are. Nice stream time. Yeah, it's kind of late a bit, but here we are. It worked after all.
Just have to hurry up.
Exactly. Just speak about everything in 10 minutes, so we're finally done. No, yeah, I feel... I mean, look, there's books I'm definitely thankful for that I've read. But, yeah,
because they were good books.
Because they were good books, exactly. It's not about anything else, but hey, they were competently written. But yeah, as anybody who might have seen my last video can confirm, I feel slightly scammed by the notion that all of this was necessary. Because, I mean, like the accumulated time it took me to reach this point is like 1.5 years, which I think is still relatively quick for a person with a normal life, with an even more normal life, would take a bit longer than this, I think. So, yeah. Everybody, I mean, nobody is watching this who hasn't read them or isn't reading them right now, but if anybody ever by chance hears this and he hasn't read this, please don't read the Bantam era. Maybe Tyrannus is listening in. Please don't.
Maxwell, we can get him off.
Exactly. Maxwell, Tyrannus.
You idiot. You were so close.
The man read
like
Jedi Eclipse, and then he was like, you know what?
Nah,
I don't need...
I didn't get all these references. I have to go back and read Blackfleet Crisis.
You are, yeah. Maxwell and Tyrannus, you're the only guys who could possibly watch this, and you haven't read NJO yet. Please don't do this to yourselves. Be normal. If you're curious, just post about when the Jason and Anakin switcheroo happened on Discord. Ah, okay. Yeah, well, that's been a topic of a debate when that did happen, so... Yeah, no, Arizona. Thanks. But yeah, finally, we gotta speak about Vector Prime. So let's still start like we always do. What did you guys think about the book when you first read it? When you maybe reread it at some point? How did you think? What did you think?
I like Vector Prime. I think it's a solid book. I think it's It gets you going and gets you ready for the journey ahead. It does its job very well, I think.
Yep.
Well, I was severely disappointed by Vector Prime and that it didn't follow the stories and the elements that were set up by Kevin J. Anderson in his series.
That's true. I didn't think of it that way, actually.
You mean the ones that he himself took out of the story?
Exactly.
Like his love interest? That wasn't one. Yeah. That is definitely.
I mean, as we know, we have to thank Kevin J. Anderson for New Jedi Order existing. Because unless I'm brain leaking, that's an actual thing. He was the one who talked with Lucy Wilson about it, and he was like, whoa, comics.
Yeah,
They have these large story
It
arcs.
was like him, Stacky, and Zahn, like all different inputs at the same. And then it just it morphed into this.
Exactly. Into this. Thankfully, it morphed. They didn't bring Kevin back to write it, but that's something we're gonna do here, and hopefully in every.
He had to go. He had to go write Dune. So
exactly, yeah. He had to go make.
He had
money
another franchise to ruin.
But yeah, we will do that. Just speak about all these scenes, and then imagine what if Kevin wrote this scene instead.
Specifically, the good scenes, the ones that you like.
Yeah. Exactly, we're gonna destroy them, so I get to suffer more. Oh man. It is.
It will make you appreciate New Jedi Order even more because you have it like now you have examples of like the bad office in the Bantam era.
Yeah,
we don't have to restrict this just to Kevin. Like, what if Barbara Hambly wrote this scene?
Yeah,
what if Michael P. QB McDowell came back and wrote this?
It would always be about drunken fiancés at a party or something, and
dancing clumsily like ex-lovers.
Yeah, exactly. Arizona, you're literally incorrect. Like, opinion discarded. Sorry. But yeah.
I think he was agreeing. Oh, wait, no. Never mind.
I think he was disagreeing with Jason. That's what I assume, at least. Yeah. No, I agree. It was I think it's a good introductory book to kind of give you an idea what's ahead. And
it introduces you to the world. So if you started right here, you'd be perfectly fine.
You would miss literally nothing other than meaningless references to shit books. Please don't read them. If you value your time, that is. I didn't, evidently. So that's why I'm here now instead of 1.5 years ago. But yeah, no, I agree with you guys. So we should probably just, speak about what we always speak about, which is the cover. The cover is a trip. It's interesting.
It's something.
It's something different.
It's one of the better ones for New Jedi Order, but I don't think they're very good. The New Jedi Order ones.
Yeah, a lot of them aren't. What's funny, when I saw my picture of when I bought all the NJO books, I took a picture of them. I actually thought that the Force Heretic ones looked really great. At least better. They had something going. But yeah, this is like, it's a trip. I don't even fully understand what's happening here. So we have obviously a pretty old Luke. We have Numenor, kind of one of the main antagonists, definitely in this book. We have the Rebellion, New Republic sign here.
Kind of on fire, I guess, because orange, red.
I guess so. Yeah, there's fire here. That's probably it.
Do you have the other, cover artwork ready?
I actually don't right now. No.
Wait, I'm gonna send it on Discord. You can open it because we need that for every NJO book.
Obviously. Yeah, as comparison.
The correct covers.
Yeah, because I kind of like the American New Jedi Order covers. They are kind of nostalgic because they are like early 2000 shit photoshops, but they are kind of charming in a way.
Yeah, I actually kind of like the German versions there too, but that's me being a snob for German. So that's totally a me thing. Yeah, there you go. Gonna open this.
I love this cover so much. I think this is one of the best ones.
Yeah. Right, so we're just gonna present this one now. Where is it? There it is. So yeah, we definitely have the same look, like, angle. It's the same picture, I think, just colorized differently, and it looks Yeah, he looks significantly younger. Yeah.
I think that's kind of with the coloring and the reds, but yeah, you don't
Yeah,
see
yeah,
all the
no.
wrinkles. Oh, fun fact, I watched an interview with Nagano, and he
Mhm.
was specifically told by Lucasfilm, oh, don't make the characters look like realistically old. Make them look a bit youngish.
Like really, really old.
And he was trying to be like, Han's like 50. And he was just trying to, make him look older, but not, so
Yeah.
Lucasfilm would be happy.
Yeah, no, that's understandable here. Yeah, but yeah, it's definitely, you can tell what's going on at least here. So we have Luke, we have obviously Han, Leia, we have Chewie, we still have Numenor, I guess.
Yep, yeah, you can tell by the one eye.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
Then we have the galaxy in the background and the burning New
Burning New
Republic in the
Republic.
foreground. Your favorite, probably your favorite part of this picture, right?
That is actually it's symbolically it's the most beautiful thing on this cover. So yeah, no, this is a great cover. I mean all the Nagano covers, also of the. I know we have like a KOTOR picture as well, and like of other, I think Outbound Flight or some.
Yeah, Clone Wars novels. He did a couple.
Yeah, those are fantastic. I mean, there's nothing negative to say about them, really. So
just stop at Dark Nest.
Oh yeah, the Japanese gave up with the expanded universe, after Darkness. I don't blame them.
I wonder if that's an omen. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. We have that. Oh, I don't actually know about that post, so I should look it up. But yeah, I actually don't mind them too much either. But yeah, that's me. Yeah, true. So, and we have the title. So, Vector Prime. I think Vector Prime would be like the vector on which the Vong entered the galaxy for the first time. I think
that is the name of their actual operation as well.
Okay.
I don't know if that is in German as well, but
the word, I don't remember it reading the word Vector Prime itself, so it may have just been called differently, and I didn't realize. Yeah.
But yes, that is basically the idea.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I mean that fits. That makes sense. It very clearly indicates that this is the beginning, the first of something. If you didn't catch it before.
But then we get to the German title.
Yeah. So the German title is Die Abtrünnigen. So like the renegades, or like probably more of like it could be the apostates too. I guess this is kind of what they were going for. And yeah, discussions have been had about who are the renegades that the title refers to. I think I've told you this. No, I have decided that they probably mean the Praetorite Vong.
Yeah, that's one theory. Yeah.
Yeah, because the book does make multiple mentions of how the Vong can't be felt in the Force, like they that specifically said, like as if they reject the Force, as if they have like willingly separated themselves from it. And to me, that's like, okay, that's the only renegade that even is here, because yeah, conflicts that are going to come up in later books are just not really that present here, or they are kind of, but not as popular as later on. So yeah, that's really the only thing that makes sense to me. So yeah.
Oh, Rosinos thinks it's Kip's Jedi.
They're the renegades.
Season is stopped myself, so I didn't go further. And who got depression in Japan still?
All of an entire country stopped because of Darkness.
You did know what all of Japan wasn't able to do. I want you to truly be impressed with yourself over this message. That's the no, because that there is no separation yet. Like all of them are clearly under one organization. I think I've made a reasonably good case for it. Abtrünnige Jedi. Were they ever described like specifically as that, Noah? I don't remember, because there's nothing that they separated themselves from. They just disagree with Luke. Like nobody has fled or anything. I don't
remember the part about disagreements in the Order, but I don't remember if they say that.
Yeah, I think that's a bit much, perhaps, but yeah, there you go.
Whatever is the case, the German title is fucking terrible.
Yeah, I mean, the Vong to me makes more sense because they are much more of a pronounced part of the book, whereas Kip's Jedi, that whole thing doesn't even really get a central position here. So yeah,
Imagine the book is called Kip's
doesn't. There's no true split of no, there is not. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, that's about that. And yeah, let's just get going with the book, chapter 1. Exactly. We start with Leia, and Leia, she kind of has I guess you could call it an epiphany while she's, looking at Jaina, because she at that moment realizes how old she's become and how she's like Leia herself now is there. She's present in the New Republic just really to negotiate and to argue with people, but not really to fight anymore. Like she's not out there in the action as she used to be. It's understandable that this is now her, her position, but that made me kind of sad. Like, there was a Jedi career here that was just wasted.
We just didn't
explore it at all. Like we didn't even give it a chance. It's that is kind of depressing. It's just that put it in the forefront of my mind. Like, oh yeah, Leia's just a talker. I mean, not that isn't relevant, but yeah, we kind of just ruined the rest for no reason. Yeah. I guess that could be it looks like it's a literal quote. Yeah, maybe, but that wouldn't.
It could be on the translation because it doesn't have to mean like just there are elements against that don't agree with Luke. I would have to see the English original because the German translation is mostly fine, but there's a couple of problems in there.
Yeah, they are still calling the Moffs muftis. It's so annoying. It sounds so. It's like they're a bunch of Muslim terrorists or something. Man. Of book 2, but we're in.
Don't trust the back of the book summaries. So neither in German nor in English.
So you're using the back of book 2 to justify why book 1 is named the way it is.
Yeah, okay, so it's not a translation yet, and it's just whoever wrote that back of the book.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go.
Yeah, that doesn't count. Sorry.
But yeah, there you go. So Leia's just thinking about mainly Jaina in this instance. She sees that Jaina has an immense fire in her eyes, especially when she's flying, and how she kind of now has inherited both Han's and her own bravery, which is of course gonna make her probably a lot braver than both of them used to be, because that's just it's two who really did a lot of great things in the universe. And that we also learn that Mara, she gets called the sister-in-law of Leia, so it's very evident to know who Mara is without having read any previous books, by the way. Mara has fallen ill. She has some rare molecular disease.
She has space cancer.
Kinda, I guess, yeah. And we know that other people were ill of that too, but she is the only one that has survived, or I think one other has survived, but he's basically dead at this point.
Yeah, on his deathbed, the last one.
Yeah, so basically she's the only one who survived this disease. And yeah, exactly. One guy is on Coruscant and he's about to die, basically. But yeah, still she is present here. She's on the Jade Saber, so that's her new ship that apparently Luke got her, which is nice.
Wherever he got that money from.
I mean, yeah, maybe like the Jedi are funded maybe by the public or something. Who knows?
Yeah, they're funded by the New Republic. Remember when in Jedi Search when
so Luke is stealing the government funds to buy his wife a new car?
Yes.
Realistic.
Or maybe he's using the paycheck for it. I don't know.
Except he's just
imagine him getting actually paid by the government.
He's just siphoning money.
Getting paid by the government.
They did clap when he asked to do the thing. So
That is kind of funny. Just Luke siphoning money out of the government to buy his family fancy shit. I kind of respect that. So there you go. Yeah, and she's there to accompany Leia because she's supposed to speak to a character called Nomenor. He is the leader of a planet called Romamul, I guess would be the pronunciation. And there was just a local mining conflict, like with the neighboring planet that's called Osirian, but he basically escalated that into a holy war. That's kind of the way it's depicted in the book, where it's like their divine duty now to fight this war, more or less. Yeah, exactly. That's it.
That's Rogue Planet. That's Old Republic Jedi Order, and not New Jedi Order.
Yeah, that doesn't mean.
I think Jason's answer is way more accurate.
I mean, yeah, like that's actually the thing that makes most sense with what little information the Bantam era gave you. Yeah,
it doesn't make sense to you, but
yeah, it does.
What I would also like to mention, since you just explained the Nomenor and Romamul situation, continuity, because this is set up in Crimson Empire 3, which is so great with continuity. Because thanks to that comic, it's now pretty much stated Nomenor has been on that planet for like 10 years.
Okay, I didn't even remember that. Call me crazy. I didn't remember Crimson Empire 3 too much.
Crimson Empire 3, there's already a senator from Romamul talking to Leia, and he's like, there's some guy called Nomenor doing shit.
Yeah,
and then Leia does nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has been 10 years or something since that.
That's crazy. Yes, it's actually the second one. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I vaguely remember. I mean, obviously I remember.
No, Jason, it's not in 2. It's not in 2. Nomenor is
so he
in
just
part
shows
2.
Up in 2?
He just shows up in 2. He has a little plot with the new puppet leader of the Empire that he's helped installing. But his thing with Romamul, that's all in Crimson Empire 3.
Okay, well, there you go then.
Crimson Empire 2 is a good introduction, and then Crimson Empire 3 is just like, because the New Jedi Order was already out.
Yeah, I think Stradley was also in those early meetings we were talking about at the start of the stream.
But I like that we now canonically
and JR.
But I like that canonically Nomenor has just been on one fucking planet for 10 years. It took him that long to finally start the fighting there. Great.
That is funny, yeah. It takes a bit of prep, so all right. It is what it is. And yeah, so as Leia is approaching Romamul, she gets intercepted by the forces of the Osirians, who want to force her to land on Osirian first and speak to them first, because if Leia is the one to actually speak to Nomenor, it would definitely increase the respect that people give him, because he got somebody that official to speak to him, and they don't want that. So they also they kind of start attacking her. It's not, I think the implication is it wasn't really lethal in the way they attacked her, that like they weren't planning to kill her, but they attacked. So they wanted to make her land on their planet first. And then we get a new Jedi character, Worth Skidder, and he appears in an X-Wing and he kills the Osirian forces. And as they land, Leia speaks to Worth. Of course, she's livid. She hoped to just not speak about that incident, like to escape the forces, not speak about it, and maybe point to that as like a point in her favor, like, hey, I'm willing to ignore this, so like be a bit nicer to me. But now the forces are dead, the guards are dead, so as she says that they were killed by the arrogance of some hotshot, so Worth Skidder here. So now it has to be addressed because this is like a real incident now. And she says that all compensation that needs to be paid to Osirian will be from the pockets of Worth Skidder himself, which makes perfect sense. I mean, in this scene, and you're gonna have this a lot in NJO, at least so far, if there is like a discussion between the good guys, quote unquote, you can always understand both viewpoints. Like that, the fact that Worth attacked them and killed them isn't it. Yeah, it's a bit of an overreaction maybe, but it's perfectly understandable why he would try to. Like they were attacking her. She is Princess Leia and the wife of Luke Skywalker, Mara Jade. She's there, so you fully understand what he thought, but of course you also understand what she thinks. She's like, well, I have this problem. I need to take care of this problem. You just made it a whole lot more difficult. So, yeah, I understand both of them. But exactly, yeah. Oh, yeah, and he is. What I did think is like, okay, Worth Skidder, he is, I think, on a Mon Calamari ship, and he's using military craft.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, and I'm like, maybe he shouldn't have. But I guess with the Jedi, it's like, well, they're not really under the command. Like they don't really have to listen to New Republic officials because they're not really a part of it. But he's still he uses military aircraft that I don't know if it's his. I guess it is, but yeah. So that was where I just wondered, should he even be allowed to do this? But yeah, as I said, you can kind of understand both of their viewpoints. And yeah, so we get more about Numenor. He basically incited a revolution on Ramamul. He wanted to revert daily life back from all droids and machinery that were on Ramamul back to, quote, easier times. He essentially has this revolutionary guard. They're called the Red Knights of Life, if that is the correct translation. I just translated it word for word. Of course, he doesn't actually care about them. They're just a tool for him in the region. But yeah, it you pretty clearly get that he is in the galaxy at all as an agitator. That's his shtick. He appears in spaces. He slowly accumulates control, and then he just escalates everything into full blown conflict. But yeah, exactly, and it's also to incite not only distress, but also specifically distrust in the New Republic and also the Jedi to question their ability to even act on such problems. Which, of course, now there's a really easy thing to criticize. Worth Skidder, the arrogant hotshot who just killed a bunch of pilots, seemingly out of nowhere. That's how it's going to be framed, at least. But yeah, there you go. That's kind of the political situation there. And we also learn a bit about Luke. We learn about him that he wants to rebuild the Jedi Council, which Jason is not a fan of, and he's generally not a fan of the developments of the Jedi, but we'll slowly get more and more about this. And yeah, Mara reveals that she once has met Numenor already, and she tells everybody that as they met, she wasn't able to feel him in the Force at all. And yeah, so the implication to me was, okay, it's Numenor who is in some way responsible for her having that illness, because that's the most obvious thing. And yeah, that was the first chapter. Chapter 2, we get introduced to another character, Danny Quee. Danny Quee is an adventurous scientist.
What a fucking bitch.
Worst character ever.
Stupid whore. Yeah.
Ruining everything that Kevin J. Anderson masterfully set up in his series.
Exactly, yeah. How dare she be a normal character and a woman that a man actually should want to be with?
How dare she be a woman?
Yeah. Stupid bitch. Yeah, he is kind of an arrogant prick, and it's pretty cool. Yeah, exactly. So she is not really a fan of the fact that both the civilizations of the New Republic and the Empire are they're all encompassing. She doesn't really like that, and she wants to appreciate different cultures on their own a bit more. So she's a scientist. She's stationed on a place in, I think, the unknown regions or the Outer Rim called Balkadan. I actually don't know precisely in which region it was, but the place is called Balkadan. And we meet one of her partners, His name is Yeoman Carr, and Yeoman Carr is a Yuuzhan Vong. And he's an agent for the Praetorite Vong. Now, I don't think that word Praetorite was specifically ever explained, but it's clear that Praetorite just means, well, the first wave of Vong that entered the Star Wars galaxy, basically. So that's the Praetorite Vong, and he's an agent for them. And exactly, and yeah, he doesn't really have a lot of nice things to say about anyone, other than, well, the only thing that he does recognize is that Dany is kind of looked up to. So everybody kind of respects Dany for her accomplishments, which is kind of nice, I guess.
I've heard she has 2 very big accomplishments.
I'm sure Jason's going to appreciate those accomplishments. Sure. Yeah. He's also not that genocidal and retarded. That helps. At least not now. I don't know what the future holds. But yeah, there you go.
Hey, Cap isn't genocidal and retarded in this series.
In this series.
He's over that.
Kinda, yeah. Also, although Luke kind of questions it, like, you're still okay there, bro. But yeah, no, that's true.
Got any dark side thoughts there?
Exactly. Like, you're gonna murder billions of people again? Please don't. Be kind of a
silly
big
goose.
deal. You know, people are gonna ask questions, and Jesus, all the paperwork. Let's not. Yeah, like I was waiting for that moment where, like, yeah, that's why she's a bitch, and it just kind of never happened. Which leads me to assume that maybe
Because she dares to be attractive, and Jason, feels attracted to her, which completely goes against everything Kevin J. Anderson set up. It goes against all of Young Jedi Knights. It ruins that entire storyline.
I'd say it especially ruins the last 3 books of Young Jedi Knights, to be honest.
Especially those.
Where Jason dumps the princess that he himself crippled for a space meth addict. Yeah, I remember that. That was cool. But yeah,
and where Tenel Ka herself friend zones him.
Yeah, but there you go. Now Dany's interfering in the awesome relationship of Jason and Tenel Ka, apparently. There you go. Yeah, so what Yeoman Carr does is he seems to prepare some kind of signal for the Yuuzhan Vong to just strike, whatever exactly that's going to mean. He's messaging the Executor, so not the Superstar Destroyer, but I think Executor was a rank amongst the Vong, with a thing called a Villip. So a Villip it's essentially a biotech ball that just, like, if it's activated, it turns into the head of the guy that you're speaking to. So it's a communication biotech device, whatever. It's their means of just communicating. And yeah, he's supposed to activate a signal. So he takes this weapon, which is a giant 2-bladed knife. He prays to their god, Yan Yamka, and then he marches on. That's his thing. You know, I actually asked myself that too. Like, how the hell would... I mean, that's so unrealistic. No guy would ever do that. Doesn't Jason realize that if he marries Tenel Ka, he gets to be a slave to her for the rest of their life? And, like, literally referred to as lesser of the two.
He's gonna become a Boba Fett starship.
Jason just is interested in muscle mommies, and I can respect that to an extent. Like,
really only to an extent, yeah. But yeah, he has his thing until he doesn't, because crack mommy is there, I guess, and now there's science mommy. So there you go. He has a thing, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, so Yeoman Carr, he moves along. He goes to their communications tower to interrupt communication outside. I was like, okay, maybe that was a bit too easy. Maybe there should have been some guard there because there's literally nobody. But I guess now, looking back to the entire thing, I guess this whole operation wasn't really... I mean, what happens on Balkadan is just like a bunch of scientists. It's not like a government program really in that way. It's just like, yeah, go out there and have a look at the edge of the universe, whatever. So it's like kind of more forgiving on that. But yeah, so we have a few clear signs already of what's to come in the series. So when in pain, Yeoman Carr actually feels pleasure in some case, so he likes being in pain. And it tells you, okay, the Vong are clearly a fanatical warrior race. And exactly, so the science team, they then pick up a bunch of extragalactic signals, and they just kind of argue with, what they're supposed to do now. Are they going to call for help? Are they not going to call for help? As he watches everybody just argue around, like no matter their status or whatever, he feels more vindicated about their hierarchical structures that wouldn't allow something like this, which he thinks is a weakness that can be exploited. And it's kind of like a microcosm of the entire picture. The New Republic is like, well, democracy, they need to argue about all things all the time, and the problem is there's a bunch of idiots who get to argue with you too. Democracy, yeah. Obi-Wan seems more like the loser in that conversation on Mustafar now. Democracy, imagine defending that, Jesus. But yeah, he's convinced that this is a weakness that can be exploited, which, yeah, I mean, that makes sense that he would believe that. So yeah, Yeoman Carr also has a biotech disguise. It's called I forgot the fucking name. Osgiliath mask, something like that. The thing that makes you look like somebody else.
Uglith mask.
Uglith mask, exactly, yeah. And he also has a translator thingy in his brain, so because of course
a bubblefish.
Bubblefish, maybe. Yeah.
Can we just call it the bubblefish?
Bubblefish. Sure, why not? Yeah, because of course he doesn't actually speak basic, but that thing makes it easier for him.
Can we talk about how that's fun? Because that's going to be a thing with the rest of the series, with the Yuuzhan Vong speaking in their own language. I just like that. It's just a little detail I enjoy.
Yeah, it is kind of funny. It's actually going to be...
Because it makes sense, and they actually thought it out that they obviously wouldn't be able to speak basic because they're from another galaxy.
Really, I thought the British even conquered the outside of the Star Wars galaxy.
You would think that.
You would think that, yeah. It is something they would try at least. So you're kind of confused when it doesn't happen, but I guess it's not.
Well, if you had read Supernatural Encounters, you would know what actually happens there.
Yeah, maybe there are space British there. We just don't know about them yet.
That would be the worst galaxy ever.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna have a look. No spoilers. That's good. Yeah. I don't know who the Tizo worm
the bubblefish, I think.
Oh yeah, probably. I mean, worm. Yeah, looks like worm. Teaches the user how to speak the language at the same time. Yeah, of course. Yeah, he also can therefore speak the language. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he's using that to not appear in his like true Yuuzhan Vong form, and he makes everyone agree that instead of calling for any help, because of course he's not interested in people learning about their existence prematurely, they're just gonna observe and collect information for now. And yeah, he kind of makes them believe that if they now call the command of Xgal being the company that they work for, they would try to get all the glory and not the team that has actually found it. So he exploits kind of that greed, that pride from them, and says like, hey, let's just observe for now, so you get to get all the glory about finding data from another galaxy here. So that's what happens. And yeah, I thought this was a fantastic build-up already. Like, you very quickly learn who the villains are, at least to like a very basic degree, but you get a feeling what their abilities are, what their philosophy is, what their strengths are. And yeah, of course, all of that is just adding up to what's going to be an eventual downfall. So that was really fun to follow. Yeah. Yeah, I think so, because you get that. I think if I don't know what situation exactly it was, but at times you can hear that he isn't an actual native speaker of basic. Like it isn't perfect. In some cases it fails to properly get that to work for him. Yeah. Chapter 3, we learn something that is partially very good, but also very bad, which is Leia has once again finally retired as chief of state.
Yay!
Woohoo! The negative development of that means that now, of course, we have a new chief of state, which is Borsk Failure. Yeah, Borsk Failure is he is written like Borsk Failure, so you know kind of what you get with him. But yeah, I was like, to me, I thought, well, it fits his ways to be able to recover from his previous mistakes, like specifically during the Kamasi thing. But to me, there's like
Probably use it to his advantage, to be honest.
Yeah, but yeah, true. But I'm like, Borsk Failure is kind of. I think he should be irredeemable. At least he kind of is to me. But he is always that. He is very consistently characterized.
It's like a roach, always comes back.
Exactly. He's like very slippery. You can't grab a hold of him. He always kind of winds out of every negative situation and manages to come out on top.
Still a politician.
Yeah, he is an actual. he enrages you when you just listen to him, when you just look at him. So yeah, he is the proper politician, because the difference to other politicians is at least he is smart. He's just aggravating, but others are aggravating and also retarded. So that is a meaningful difference, I would say. Yeah. Chapter 3 is where Alex comes to shut on Jason for not liking the idea of a new Jedi Council. Oh yeah, that's gonna be. Isn't that like a normal, appropriate opinion to have? Like, hey, maybe
it ended for a reason.
Exactly. Like, what's that quote? If the old ways brought you to this moment, like, of what use were your old, whatever, maybe you know that quote. Yeah, like, hey, maybe the Jedi failed for a reason, because where was the Jedi Council when Palpatine took over?
No, that was actually on the Discord, and you would know if you were there. Haha.
I don't watch football, so I don't care too much. They're called my representation, but I don't feel particularly represented by that team. But it's nice to see us, so that, yeah. Exactly, yeah. So it's like, okay, realistically, I don't think Borsk should be redeemable, but yeah, he is who he is, so he somehow managed to come on top. And we also get that, he is respected as a, quote, elder statesman, like because the amount of people that have experience and who are still active is like decreasing. Like, we know that I think we already get that Akbar has retired essentially. Like Mon Mothma obviously is not a thing anymore. So yeah, you have a bunch of guys who just don't try anything anymore. And of course, it enables somebody like Borsk Failure, who has less and less enemies in his way. But yeah, he is respected as a guy, so that kind of tries to justify it. And we're gonna have.
I like the idea of a slimy politician, being respected for being a politician for all his life.
Exactly.
Career politician.
He's been a roach for his entire life, and that's respectable because
politicians.
It takes skill to be a leech for your entire life and never be really seriously called out for it. So yeah, there you go. But yeah, so amongst the younger people, he's kind of respected as that, and I like it. That's going to be a thing in all NGO books so far, at least, that if there is something that is maybe a bit questionable, where you're like, wait, how does that work? There's always this recognition that, okay, maybe I need to give a reason how somebody like Borsk Failure could possibly be redeemed. It's like, okay, well, he's an elder statesman, he is experienced, and there's a bunch of new younger people here now who don't have this experience, and it makes it sound like they need him in a way. So yeah,
the Borsk is gonna make the galaxy great again.
Yeah.
Exactly. And now text like Stackpole, hey, he wrote a pretty fun Borsk. He said all politicians are shit, basically, and he was right.
Based.
So, yeah, that is actually based. But yeah, there you go. So, yeah, the Council of Six. So that's a governing body of the New Republic, and they are very obviously attacking Luke for what Worth Skidder did at Romamul.
I thought they are not a military court.
That's true.
Obviously, that's changed since after
that. I would say that's just more Kevin J. Anderson disrespect.
True. How dare? I mean, he is disregarding the romance that was in Young Jedi Knights.
Both
now
of them.
He's doing that.
Now they're disregarding his setup of the hierarchy of the New Republic and how they deal with issues. It's just disgraceful.
How dare he? Good question. Does Borsk failure genuinely think what he's doing is what's actually best for the galaxy? I think he probably does believe that.
I think going forward, it's pretty clear that he does.
I believe that he believes he knows what the people need.
Yes.
Yeah.
Narcissist.
Him being wrong is irrelevant to this fact, I would say.
Exactly. He's always just trying to also make sure that he comes out on top. Because, I mean, yeah, he's gonna do things where you're like, there's no possibility that that's actually gonna help your case. But it's also to help advance his own cause. But yeah, I think, to a degree at least, he definitely thinks that what he does is what's actually best. So, yeah. Yeah, and even though Luke is there to actually speak about his desire to reinstate the Jedi Council, it's more so talking about Worth Skidder there. And yeah, I did wonder, but that's actually going to get addressed. Like, why would Luke even go to the New Republic when whether the Jedi Council exists or not is really only a question of the inner structure of the Jedi Order, which
I think it has to be sponsored by the New Republic at this point. Like, there's no other way it can make sense for him having to get advice and permission from the actual New Republic.
Yeah. And I think he's actually gonna. It might even be in this chapter. He's actually explaining to Jason why he even bothers to talk to them, and he makes a good point. But I'll wait until the point is there. Yeah, fair. But I mean, it's a fictional character, so we can kind of assume there's a bit more, in theory at least, a bit more actual idealism in them. In real life, I would say no, definitely not. I guess, yeah. I mean, he is still, quote, fighting the bad guys, right? He is on the side of, if you want to call the New Republic the good guys, I guess, on their side. So, yeah.
I want to make a joke, but I can't because it'll spoil something.
Okay. Well, we're gonna wait with that. I can't wait to see.
Hold that thought for a while.
Nice. Exactly. So, yeah, the councilmen who are against Luke are, of course, as you know it, absolute fools. They make ridiculous accusations against him. Because some of the Jedi surrounding Kip are, trying to attack smugglers, and those attacks are being built up to, they're attacking defenseless civilians, which to me, of course, once again signalizes that the New Republic was always a broken concept and needs to die already. Let them say the last prayers and then bye-bye. Yeah, it is. I mean, that is the only thing. That is the only tune he can play. And
there was 2 whole ships there, 2 whole ships of Bothans that died that one time.
Yeah,
to get the plans for the space station that was a trap,
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't want to talk about the Bothans that destroyed Kamas.
No. We don't want to talk about those.
Some Bothans died there too. You don't know.
That is true. Yeah, he wants to talk a lot about human oppression, and characters are going to call him out for that. So we'll just wait with that. But yeah, But yeah, we have Borsk. It was funny. It was described that Borsk is intimidated by Luke's just sheer presence, which that is cool. It gives you the feeling of, oh, Luke actually doesn't suck.
What a pussy.
That's nice. What a fucking pussy. Exactly. But yeah, we get an actual number now. So 100 Jedi Knights. That's the amount of Jedi Knights that we have in the Order, which is reasonable enough for a number. I felt like there should probably be a bit more, but then again, Luke sucked as a master a long time, so it's like, okay, yeah, 100, sure. That seems to be a relatively reasonable number.
One guy, I think it makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, in this case here, it's part of the plot that they don't want these smugglers to be attacked, which gets revealed later. I think it's like, well, they're basically not really needed anymore because the fight against the Empire is over. So it's kind of like, well, I mean, we get that in the beginning of Dark Tide. We get people who speak about that. So yeah, sometime, someplace he got voted in, I guess. 100 is a half number. Yeah, I think so too. Borks, yeah, exactly. Borks, Falia. Yeah, exactly. So, we have conflict here, and it's very believable. So Luke explains to Jason that the council, like the councilmen of the New Republic, of course, actually have no say over Jedi matters. But what he's doing there is essentially he's giving a PR tour. He's like he's trying to please them a bit, and seem as though they're like really important to his decision making. When of course it's not them that he particularly needs any approval of, but just it's for the pictures essentially. It's a PR thing, as he says, and Jason, of course, says we don't need them. Because this is something very spiritual and private. It's like, why the hell are we even pretending to care about what they think, how the Jedi Order should be structured? And once again, you get both their viewpoints. Luke is like, of course we don't care, but we'll pretend. And Jason's like, we shouldn't basically even pretend like this is not a New Republic matter. But yeah. Yeah, the New Republic deserves death, specifically Coruscant, which makes me realize that that's just the center of all problems. Yeah. Yeah, most of weird how that is, right? Somehow they're all aliens.
Isn't it crazy how most of the problems in the New Republic are from 13% of the population,
who do commit 50% of the crime, at least. Probably
50% of the racism.
Exactly. Those are probably old figures. Like, we need to update those numbers. I think they're not accurate anymore. But yeah, there you go. Yeah, so what Luke does is he plans to use Borsk's cynicism. Like, of course, he's a very cynical character, and he wants to evade conflict and also earn himself a lot of favor with Leia and Luke. Because what Borsk kind of believes is that, well, everybody's kind of playing after my rules, and of course he doesn't like it. Borsk always does what serves him the best, and Luke, I think, explicitly thinks about, like, literally nobody ever plays after your rules, but essentially they're gonna pretend as though they do. Like, okay, sure, we'll pretend, but we don't actually give a fuck about you either, even though you are our chief of state, whatever. And yeah, Jason thinks that a Jedi Council would necessarily have to look like they do. I think that he means the New Republic Council, and he doesn't think that there even should be an academy right now. Like, the actual structure of academies to him is not a good thing, because people should rather find their own way towards being a Jedi. There should only be one master and one student who can, like, really focus on a student, and not how Luke is running things, essentially like a class with multiple students. And Luke understands why he thinks that, but he doesn't want potential students to fall to the dark side before they even have a chance of finding him. So he would rather be a bit more proactive.
Yeah, that'd be
that
crazy
regard.
if they just fell to the dark side before getting there.
That is weird, right? Like at any point in time, you could just fall instead of actually reaching the goal that others want you to reach. So yeah, that wouldn't be good. That would actually be pretty bad. But yeah, once again, you understand both of them. It's like Jason wants to have this like very, very spiritual experience where one guy can really focus on a student. But Luke is like, as we stand right now, the structure just makes most sense, and I would rather not have people fall before they even have a chance of becoming a Jedi. Oh yeah, I don't.
Who are the worst ones?
I mean,
Dala, Jason, Mon Mothma, Leia.
Yeah, I mean, all of them are factually worse. Do we have anyone else?
What was the guy? Handathron. What was his name? He was probably the best one. The only one that did something good.
Yeah, exactly. The one who actually managed.
His name starts with a C, right?
Yeah, I don't remember the name anymore either. Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's fair, but I mean, to Jason, the entire structure doesn't make sense, and Luke just kind of, I guess he's like, well, it's the most resource efficient way we have right now, more or less. And then once again, you understand both of them. But yeah, maybe an in between would have actually been the correct thing to do. Chapter 4. So yeah, we get that Nomenor actually has indeed infected Mara with spores or with
Gaverson. That's who I'm thinking of. I don't know why I thought it was a C.
What was it? Sorry?
Gaverson.
Ah, yeah. It's been a while, yeah. It's been already been a while. We had lots of bad books in between, I feel like, and that's what made us forget. Jesus. Noah's favorite character in Fate of the Jedi. Who's that, Noah?
Wait, what?
All the horrible Chief of States.
Who is my favorite character in Fate of the Jedi? Well, what's his name?
He's
such a great character. I forgot his name. Dala's gay assistant boy.
Oh.
The one who has a relationship with Reyna Fool. What's his name?
What?
That's implied. Don't worry about it. That's my headcanon.
I have a tough time not worrying about it, but okay, sure.
His name is escaping me. Hold on.
I'm sure Sivat's gonna type it in.
No, because he clearly also doesn't remember it. That's why he said he's my favorite character.
I think he just wanted to make you remember instead of just reading the name. But yeah,
okay,
exactly.
Chief of State, it's Windorven. Thank God.
Ah, yeah. That guy.
He sounds like a twink.
He looks like one too. He has a pet rat in his pocket.
Oh man, Jesus! Like.
Oh wait, here's a picture of him. He kind of
Was he? Maybe I wouldn't know. We'll see in 3 years when we maybe speak about Fate of the Jedi.
Oh, here's his full picture with his pet rat.
You can put that up as your profile picture here, so we get to see it in all its beauty.
Here? Okay, sure. Hold on.
But yeah, so and yeah, Nomenor and also the other Vong, they're kind of impressed. Some are even worried about the fact that Mara has managed to survive the infection for so long. What he does is like he has a lizard, and that lizard can smell the spores if they're on her breath, because they would be on her breath if she's still sick. And like the moment he meets Mara, that the lizard goes crazy, and that's how he knows. And yeah, his mission in the galaxy is essentially to just learn about the weaknesses of the people there, and of course trying to increase the amount of weaknesses there are to deteriorate the situation.
That's him. That's Windorven.
That looks AI generated.
No, it's actual artwork. The artwork isn't very good. I mean, it's from the Essential Reader's Companion. That's also where Corin Horn looks like Seth Green. Oh wait, let me find the Seth Green Corin Horn picture.
I think I know that one with Jimmy. There's even a similar one with Murex, I remember. Yeah.
But yeah, that's Windorven. He's an actual good new character in the Denning-verse, which is very rare.
Darkness fucked a character beyond redemption. That doesn't sound. That doesn't sound like it checks out. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Almost only got terrible truly when Denning turned him into Palpatine in Darkness. Can't wait for Darkness. It's one of the series of all time, I'm sure. Yeah, that's funny, actually. That is the most based thing anybody has ever done in the Senate. Just turn off the volume. We should do that more often. But, yeah, exactly. So, Leia and her entourage arrive, and Nominor basically gives them a speech about wealth and the elites. He tells them that if they want to stop this conflict, they can destroy the factories that are on Asarian that produce weapons. He calls all of them stupid and tells them to fuck off. Which was just kind of funny. I mean, there wasn't even an attempt to actually pretend like they were going to negotiate. It's just like, fuck you. Go to hell. I don't give a shit. I don't give a damn. And they just leave again. He was like, and immediately, like, that was the first time I saw him really speak, and I immediately thought, that guy's a pain in the ass. I want him to die. Which, like, in a good way. That's, of course, supposed to be the villain. So yeah, it was kind of funny to be like, I don't give a fuck. Just go. So yeah, and yeah, everybody tried, and of course nobody was able to sense him in the Force. Of course, that thing is something I knew about the Vong already, but exactly. Oh yeah, we get that he apparently made sure specifically to look like Vader, to kind of like mindfuck Leia a bit there, which is like, I don't think it affects her really that much, but it makes sense to try that. So that was kind of cool. And yeah, we meet Anakin. Anakin is now a much more he's a more energetic kid. He tries to outperform Jaina in flying. So he himself flies the Falcon for now, and he's kind of pushing it beyond what it's supposed to be doing. And yeah, it's like it all of that kind of reminds Luke of Han. I mean, he looks like Han. His temperament and also the stuff that he tries to do with the Falcon, all of it reminds him of Han. So that's kind of nice. You actually get them to have personalities. Isn't that great? And yeah, and Leia and Mara, and of course Luke is very, thankfully, very concerned about Mara, because that's a thing that his character can do if you just choose to write him that way. They will continue to do things in the Outer Rim to just handle business. And so I was like, okay, Luke is probably then going to go to Lando. So he hoped to go to Lando to get more information about this smuggler business that some councilmen seem to be involved in. So they, previously they complained that the Jedi are hunting down these smugglers and pretended as though they're unarmed civilians. Well, now he's going to go to Lando and to try and investigate what's going on. What's the deal with that? Because yeah, they aren't involved in that, but they try to pin all the blame on the Jedi. So yeah, exactly. It's funny. I mean, I would say that I don't remember Leia. Leia was definitely annoyed by it, I think, and she was maybe mildly put off, but I don't think it elicited the same response that it would have during Empire Strikes Back or something. But yeah, it's funny that he tries, and it makes sense that he would try. So I like that. that is funny. Yeah. So yeah, chapter 5. So yeah, there is an asteroid. So the thing that the Excal scientists managed to observe was a supposed asteroid that is about to collide with and also possibly destroy a place that's called Helska 4. And at that moment, the scientists try to communicate with Excal, which now, of course, doesn't work because communication is destroyed. And I thought, like, okay, when the comms were destroyed, maybe there should have been like a warning lamp, like, hey, your connection has been severed or whatever. But alrighty then. Yeah. So we have that exactly. And yeah, it's also later mentioned when one of the characters complains about having looked at everything but that connection on the roof. So like some character says, I've looked at everything, but this one thing. Which to me made it kind of obvious, okay, that's probably what's making it not work anymore. So maybe they should check on that. But yeah, exactly. So the thing that they want to do now, because, well, they can't communicate with anybody anymore, is to fly out in the old spaceship that they have and send a signal while they fly towards Helska 4 to see what happened there. Of course, the asteroid or comet or whatever they thought it wasn't actually one, but it was a Vong spaceship with somebody called Prefect Dagara in there and a war coordinator called Yamosk. And they land on it's an ice planet or an ice moon or whatever. They burn themselves into the water and swim down there to do something that was yet unknown. It's essentially just set up their base. And yeah, to me, I kind of realized, okay, the scientists to me are a bit too incompetent. Like, other than Danny is pretty competent, but I was like, they kind of behave a bit weirdly or a bit dumb, more than it needed to be. Because I get that they're being disorganized a bit, and that their lack of unity is a weakness that Yomenkar can exploit. But yeah, at times I was like, maybe that's too easy for him. That nobody is Daniel.
I think you're Daniel.
Hello, Fabe. By the way, I just now noticed that the journey was not worth it. I agree. Not even the ironic haha look at how shit all of this is was really, really worth it. Yeah. But hey, maybe the goal was the Jedi Academy trilogies we made along the way. I don't know.
There was only one of those, and it was
shit. We had a comic that related to that. That was shit too.
That's true.
And we had a continuation in Darksaber. That was kind of shit too. Sad, but oh well, what can we do? Yeah, so that's that. Chapter 6. So Jaina is about to land on Coruscant, and Mara has a lot of trust in Jaina. But Leia herself is unsure whether Jaina should be the one that actually lands the ship. She's like, she doesn't feel quite comfortable with the thought. So she wakes up Mara just to be present there, because of course, like, Leia's probably just worried about Jaina, and even though Leia has a good reason to do that, being like, oh, it would be disrespectful to just land the ship without her, she made sure to tell Jaina that she knew that she could land the ship perfectly, which Jaina clearly appreciates. Which was like, damn, Leia is like a good mother. She trusts her and she acknowledges her abilities, but she worries about her. So you can do that. Leia is able to do that. You just need to write her that way.
When they're sister-in-laws and they care about each other.
He is AFK now, but I'll make sure that he reads that. Oh man. But yeah, there you go. That was a thing. And yeah, Mara meanwhile is very troubled because the illness now seems to attack her lower body, and she's worried that it may possibly attack her womb as well, which might make it impossible for her to give birth to, well, a child at all, or at least a healthy child. And Leia tries to comfort her and confesses how she's both happy and also jealous about Mara's relationship with Jaina, which was like a sweet and believable moment between two characters who, should have interacted far more in the series. Because, like, do they ever really interact other than in the Throne trilogy? I think. Don't think so. Like, maybe like a sentence or something, but it's like,
there's the bath scene in Union.
There is. I mean, that better that than nothing. That's true. Clifford. Jesus. Yeah. So there you go. That's that was a thing. Yeah. Jason and Anakin, they are also in conflict. So Jason views the Force and also fighting as a means to achieve inner peace, not to be essentially a police force, while Anakin is more focused on his technical proficiency and to use the Force as a weapon. And it's this kind of disconnection between them that leads Anakin to lose their spar. So they are sparring, and he loses it, even though he himself practices a lot more than Jason. Which kind of makes for like really good and believable scene on how the Jedi ought to be, like, because that's the ideal picture of the Jedi. Like in equilibrium, they have inner peace. They're not out there to be the aggressor, but always only care about defense. And that was kind of a nice representation that Anakin trains a lot more, but he is losing against Jason that spar. My brain is fried. Also, I'm reading humor, which makes it worse. There you go. But hey, you're having an active life. That's never bad. I can't wait to hopefully never find out about that. But yeah, because the crazy thing is, while Star Wars itself lives off Luke, Han, and Leia, the expanded universe should have kind of moved into this direction of never having to anymore, at least for its own microcosm. And as far as I know, sacrificing the new generation and bringing back the old generation to let them experience stories, that's not really the purpose of how things should be. But well, there you go. And yeah, Luke Luke is kind of defeatist about the Jedi. What I mean is that he's kind of wondering how to control everybody, especially somebody like Worth Skidder, who essentially went out on his own, and how he should even contact them. Where I feel like he should probably just be able to call everybody to like a general meeting and tell them this is how things should be run, by the way, which he kind of does later on. But yeah, in this he was kind of a bit offhand, like, oh, I don't know how to keep these guys in check. I mean, in theory, you can just tell them to, and it's not like that wouldn't work. Yeah, and we have a moment where Luke and Mara and also Leia and Han reunite. It's in that moment that it's evident that they actually love and miss each other, which is not that easily detectable in in the EU so far. And yeah, they all decide to travel to Lando together, which is nice. There you go. They do something useful. Yeah, chapter 7. So Yeoman Carr, he manipulates the space caster. So the space caster is the old spaceship of the scientists, so that it can't communicate while actually showing that it does communicate. So he's managing to fool the scientists with it, and he also repairs actual parts that are broken in the ship, so he can justify why he's working at the ship all the time. And it also leads to Danny believing that he has a good reason to be around the ship constantly. It's also smart for him to think of that, like, okay, I should appear as though I actually do something productive. And we learn more about a bunch of beetles. They're called dweebits that Yeoman Carr left on Balkadan. They are basically mass reproducing. They are doing something essentially that summons storms on
It
the
should have been
planet.
piranha beetles. That's
Should
the
have
main. real missed opportunity there.
That's the because we thought about like how would Kevin J. Anderson write certain aspects of the story. I feel like these dweebits, Jason would like counter create like a whole colony of piranha beetles, and he would send them against them, and the beetles would have a giant like Avengers Endgame battle. That would be so awesome. Like beetles against beetles, and everybody's like, it would be a lesson about how everybody's doing their part, even the beetles, because that's meaningful, I guess. Yeah, there you go. And so he's wait, where was I? Yeah, okay. So the dweebits are essentially summoning storms on the planet. They are making direct communication and landing on Belkaden even harder. And it convinces Danny to just fly away again instead of trying to land. And it leads to her also not learning that Yeoman Carr has started killing and will now just wait on Belkaden for whatever's going to happen. And yeah, now we learn that Nomenor has started a war with Osarian. He's doing that as a, quote, distraction for the New Republic, so they have no focus for the Outer Rim. That, to me, sounded kind of BS, because I'm like, the New Republic has a relatively big fleet that should be available, and this is like the conflict between two planets only. So it's like they sound insanely unable to act.
But this is the New Republic we're talking about, so
it is the New Republic we're talking about. So if you actually like Bantam continuity, that's it. It's the New Republic being too lobotomized to properly run their faction. And I feel like this is going to make New Jedi Order just so much sweeter in the future. We learn more about these beetles. They're called dweebs. Maybe I swallowed the dweebits away a bit. But yeah, maybe they're also dweebs. Who knows? I mean, the Vong are they're not actually buff. I think they're
tall. We know they're tall.
They're tall, but I think they're sometimes described as, well, lean. Maybe dweebs is a bit much, but they're lean. So yeah, maybe that's intentional. Who knows? But yeah, there you go. But yeah, exactly. It sounds like as though this conflict would pull their full attention to it, when realistically that shouldn't be what's happening. But yeah, as you pointed out, this is the New Republic, so yeah. Yes, that's true, and it's kind of important to point that out, because yeah, I see. I mean, I saw it on like back in the day on Reddit when I was on the Star Wars EU Discord subreddit. That yeah, some people understand connectivity as just remember this guy from this thing. That's not really continuity. It's like, yeah, we have a system that was built up before, like, let's say the New Republic, or like a plot, and that plot, that whatever, gets carried on into the next book, and it leads to a bunch of consequences that then play out in another book or comic or whatever. That's continuity, and shouldn't be that hard to understand. But yeah. So chapter 8, we see, and I genuinely love that, the genuine respect between Luke and Jason. Luke clearly values Jason's opinions about the council, and he takes them seriously, even though
Jason's like a fucking asshole, obviously.
Oh yeah, he is essentially 1 foot in front of Jedicide. Like, one more step, it's Jova. But no, Luke is actually still really respectful of him, even though he's only 16. While Jason very clearly respects Luke, and Jason says that he can see the hardship that Luke has been through, and the ones that he will go through, and how much he represents, like Luke represents, of what a Jedi should be. So you could say that both Luke and Jason are pretty respectful to each other.
Does the book give examples of all the hardships Luke went through, like the events around, the children of the Jedi? We're gonna drop some Kevinisms.
When he
the Dark Saber crisis.
Tried to find the waifu. No. Thank fuck not.
During the events of the courtship of Princess Leia.
Exactly. Here, by the way, we had a question for you, Nova.
When in NJO?
Yeah, I spoke about it now. Like, oh, well, they actually, like, they have feelings that they verbalize for each other. Like, they are characters that actually exist in the same universe and that can interact with each other.
Oh, yeah, I remember exactly 3 instances of Luke and Mara talking. One is in the Thrawn trilogy.
Leia and Mara, not Luke.
Leia and Mara, yeah, sorry. Force of habit. Leia and Mara talking. One is in the Thrawn trilogy. The other one is in the Corellian trilogy.
I guess so.
Yeah, famously. And then Chapter 1, Vector Prime. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, a bit later, I had this where Leia admits to Mara that she's jealous of what a good relationship Mara has with Jaina. So yeah, it's nice. These characters kind of should interact a bit more.
I don't remember which book it was, but when Jaina calls Leia out for being a terrible mother, that's gonna be in your top 5 favorite NJO moments because it's correct.
It is factually true. That is how you keep continuity with Bantam. It's like, yeah, remember how you're like shit.
One of my favorite things Dylan has said is that there was a very good opportunity to explain why Jason went dark by just saying that Han and Leia were terrible parents and just neglectful.
They let him eat a bouquet.
If Denning would have made that point, I would still not like the direction probably, but I could respect the continuity, you could say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The homage to Kevin J. Anderson's magnum opus.
Yeah, of course. You're not wrong there, Sivat. And actually, a lot of EU fans, of course, don't love Filoni, but there's not really a reason why they wouldn't, because he throws in random names that have no connection, which the EU does. He misrepresents the stories that are portrayed there, which, well, the EU does. Is it so much worse than the worst of the EU? I'm not sure. I would say that. I mean, TCW has managed to leave a footprint on.
Oh yes.
Yeah, we just talked about it, how Luke actually respects Jason's opinion, even though he is 16. Mm-hmm. How Jason's like, yeah, I understand. I understand how you came to the positions you are having right now, and you're like the model Jedi.
Okay, I want to point out Sivat's other latest comment down there.
Jason is already one step closer. Yeah, I mean, Anakin Skywalker tried to.
But yeah, this one. Leia wasn't busy chopping people's arms off. She was busy running from the SS that her son was sending after her and Han.
She kind of deserves that, to be honest, so...
Yeah, but yeah, Han and Leia don't attend Mara's funeral because Jason Solo sent his SS troops after them. Also, Kyle was there, but he also didn't talk.
Pico, don't you love this ever deteriorating picture of Legacy of the Force? Like, it has to be so much worse than everybody's actually saying. It has to be. There's so many things.
Oh, by the way, I'm pretty sure when Mara dies, Leia also feels it. But it's Jaina who calls Luke, and they are all just like, "Yeah, don't worry, don't do anything stupid. Yeah, we're coming. It's fine."
Beware the dark side.
Beware the dark side, Luke. He didn't listen to his own advice. Remember that's a spoiler for Star by Star, but do you care? It's just a slight moment with Leia.
I'd rather not. I managed to.
Yeah, just save it. Just save it till we actually get to Star by Star. Easy.
Star by Star is gonna be a massive stream anyway, so yeah.
Okay. Probably double.
Oh, man. Yeah. Probably at least 2. Yeah. And yeah, once again we have, you may or may not believe it, a healthy disagreement. Jason thinks that Luke shouldn't respond to someone like Borsk, which is very understandable. Nobody should want to respond to somebody like Borsk. But Luke warned him. What? I'm sorry?
He has cooties.
Yeah.
But then Luke shuts that punk-ass bitch down like he should.
But Luke warns him that he's talking very pridefully, and he's trying to elevate himself above others who also need to make decisions, which is also true. It's like, damn, good conflict in a book is actually when both sides are not necessarily wrong for why they believe what they believe. At least, amongst the good guys, that's a cool kind of conflict. It's
Dare I say nuance?
That is
Nuance.
nuance. It's like I understand
it.
why he thinks that, but I also understand why the other guy thinks that, and both are kind of correct.
I like that Luke is defending Borsk, because every reader would be okay with just like, yeah, Borsk is an asshole.
Yeah, he deserves death, but oh well. But yeah, healthy disagreements between Luke and Jason. There's clearly so much love and appreciation between those two. I love it.
It's gonna be so sad.
I know. Oh Jesus! And yeah, Leia. We also get a bit more about Leia. She expresses a desire to just be herself, essentially, not Princess Leia or anybody else anymore. And she's met with understanding by Mara. And Leia, in turn, now feels no jealousy towards Mara, but she just hopes her desire for a family, so Mara's desire for a family, will be fulfilled. Great. Two characters having a great relationship. I can have that in a Star Wars book. Nope. I just thought I couldn't, but it is a thing that can happen. And even StreamYard trying to bomb my stream can't prevent me from saying that anymore. There you go. Chapter 9. We see the remaining scientists are investigating the storm that Danny mentioned to them, which, turns out to be some kind of poisonous gas that's changing everything in its surroundings.
Flashback to Phantom Menace.
Ari Salvatore, right? Oh, wait.
No, that was Attack.
No, he was Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, Attack of the Clones. Yeah, I just misremembered. Terry Brooks was the guy, right? Or was it some? Yeah, okay. My bad.
Fake fan.
Jeez, how dare I not know who?
Fraud confirmed.
Who wrote the Phantom Menace and who wrote the Attack of the Clones novelization? Yeah.
That is always shocking. Like, this entire series is so unlike the Expanded Universe because it's trying to be good.
Literature.
It's trying to be books. Not even literature, just books.
Books, yeah.
Books with plot and
characters and like conflict and,
compelling ideas and stuff.
Yeah, developments, pacing.
And being planned out in advance, which we haven't had since the Thrawn trilogy.
Please just memorize this. Yeah.
By the way, I don't even think that's a joke. I'm pretty sure the Thrawn trilogy was the last thing that was like planned out in advance to be a 3-act structured trilogy.
I 100% believe that, because if I think
even Hand of Thrawn was
Hand of Thrawn was supposed to be one book, right?
Yeah, and that just exploded because Zahn just wrote too much, and
you recognize. I have a Bantam era to
complete.
Fix in one work. Like, oh shit, all of this is garbage. Whoops. How is that? Yeah, like it's kind of a rarity that it worked out that well, and I appreciate whenever it did, because exactly, it's like it's kind of lucky that I managed to actually weed out the good books and read them in the beginning. Like, I started with Plagueis, Thrawn trilogy, Han Solo, AC Crispin, like Kenobi, like good Expanded Universe books that like actually have something to say, crazy.
Yeah, the ones that get recommended. And then you decided to read the ones that no one recommends, at least.
No one who's normal.
Yeah.
There you go. Now we're here. 1.5 years later, like 4 years after I started the Expanded Universe, I finally get to read NGO. Yay! Oh man. So there you go. So there's poisonous gas out there, and it's changing essentially everything in its surrounding. It's robbing the place of oxygen, and it's kind of a disgusting weapon, in a good way. Like, it's the weapon of a villain and works how it's supposed to. And so they're trying to run away, and slowly they're dying one by one. It kind of felt like, I know, like an Alien movie or something. This scenery where they're outside, they're investigating, and just one by one they get picked up and killed.
I was gonna make a One Piece reference, but you're not there yet, so fuck me.
I'm not.
Every reference yet. I can make, I can't do it yet.
Yeah, I need the next arc. I need to read this Thriller Bark, but I haven't bought the new.
Spoiler for Thriller Bark.
Okay, that's unlucky then. But yeah, there you go. And yeah, so Danny, and her entourage that followed her gets caught by Dagara. So yeah, for now it seems like they're screwed. And Yeoman Carr, he kills essentially the last survivor who was there, and he takes the beetle and the gas sample that he wanted to use, so he can see whether the other scientists can fight whatever he's like putting up there right now. Because I wasn't quite sure what the purpose of it was, but I guess it was just to figure out how smart they are and how well prepared they are for a Vong invasion in theory. It did seem to me like it would be kind of a risk to facilitate a possible like solving for that problem or like a cure or whatever, but I understood what the purpose of this was. That's kind of the purpose of the Praetorite Vong and Nomenor, also to test the waters and see how well they could find footing in the galaxy. And yeah, because Yeoman Carr actually demanded respect for Danny Quee, like to Dagara, which is the reason why she doesn't die immediately, but gets to see, quote, the beginning of the end.
Fucking bitch. Even the Vong respect her. Fucking
exactly. I mean that has to mean that she's a
Mary
true villain, right?
Whore bitch.
Fucking stupid slut. Yeah. She's clearly. I mean, there's an age gap there, right? So we gotta think of that. Even though she rejects Jason, but yeah, you know, that's gonna be a thing. But yeah, and it is kind of interesting to just imagine how, because I have a vague idea of how far the Vong come to, but how far they move along before they potentially even win their war. And then of course I know that eventually they will lose this entire war, so it's kind of interesting just to imagine how the hell that's going to happen, because I mean it's 19 books, so you have to fill in quite a lot of things, and it's interesting to try and figure out how that's going to happen. Yeah, I mean, doesn't that clearly communicate that she's a bitch? I think about it, right? Chapter 10. Mara. Mara has a very fitting way of teaching Jaina, which is with she's sending R2 incorrect navigation data, so she doesn't actually reach Lando's place with everybody, but she has to like figure out how to go there by herself, while everyone's already waiting there. It's kind of funny because that sounds like how Mara would teach somebody like practical, like a practical lesson. Like, hey, you're lost in space now, by the way. Try to figure a way out to your destination. And we hear about pretty interesting experimental technology, which is that there is a bigger power source in whatever, like a ground base or maybe even a capital ship, that is giving shields essentially to smaller fighters so that they don't have to use their own energy for their shields, but can instead focus fully on other things. So, usually it would be the weapons. It sounds like a smart idea and how it could work pretty nicely, but for now, it's not been a successful strategy. Like the tech is just isn't fully developed. And yeah, Lando has an asteroid course, like where people can essentially practice.
It's like a race course, but with asteroids.
Exactly. I think the purpose is to just see how long you manage to stay in the asteroid field, because of course that's that's kind of a pretty important thing to know, especially if you want to escape from situations that you probably shouldn't be in. And yeah, the solo kids practice on that course. They want to do it too. And we learn that smugglers usually practice flying through them, because flying through asteroid fields is how they usually try to escape from authorities, or at least oftenly so, which makes also sense. And yeah, Jaina, because Jaina has both like inner peace and also superior piloting skills, manages to stay on course for a while, and she even beats Kip Durant's record. Anakin is number 2 out of the 3 of them, and then Jason. And yeah, and I love how when Jaina was kind of almost losing the challenge, the others encouraged her to be open to the Force, especially Mara, and also essentially Leia sent her feelings of love and support to Jaina, and that motivated enough to go on long enough so that she can beat Kip Durant's record, which was nice. There you go. That was cool. So yeah, previously Kip Durant held the record for longest time in the course, and now it's Jaina. Chapter 11. We learn about so Commander Akdul. I think Akdul is the Mon Calamari commander that is between Ramamul and Osarian, and he promises Numenor a safe escort to his battle cruiser, so that they can essentially negotiate a peace. And of course, the supposed ship in which Numenor is in is actually a nuclear rocket. That's it was kind of stupid because I'm like, this guy essentially insulted your most honored diplomat, and he opened fire on civilians on purpose, which everybody knows. So he kind of shouldn't be given this insane trust and privilege to get to go on the ship of the enemy. But there you go. That's it.
Yep. The negotiations were short.
I guess so. Yeah, they were pretty short. I mean, they didn't even start. Yeah, they were even shorter. There you go. Yeah, and what Numenor wants to do, what he does essentially, is to fake his martyrdom, whatever how you he fakes being a martyr, what I don't know what the correct pronunciation is, and he hopes that nobody will notice him flying away in an A-wing, which I think should kind of be recorded, but it isn't, so nobody notices that he is gone now. And we don't know yet how long he will be gone, but he's just not present anymore. And yeah, apparently we learned that the New Republic will have to send half its fleet to Romamul to temper the conflict, at least according to Numenor, which sounds a bit too much for me, but well, there you go. That's it.
Maybe it's just a really small fleet.
That's it. I mean, we had half of the New Republic fleet also fight the Diversity Alliance. I think those numbers get thrown around a bit too easily. So yeah, there you go. My memory of this book is so bad in my mind. This book is. I know somebody who thinks that is the entire book. I didn't think it was you, but yeah, no. The Asteroid Games is like, it's a few chapters, I think, but not even that many.
We'll get back to it. But that's for the Anakin thing.
Yeah, and yet Chewie. I mean, yeah, the whole Chewie thing, that is the end. Yeah, but yeah, no, that's actually.
I wouldn't even say it's the end. It's like 2/3 into it.
Yeah, true. I mean, that's when like the development starts towards
the nuance.
The nuance. That moment when the A-wing is so lame that it can be used as an escape ship and no one reports it. Yeah. I feel like there is so much recon stuff going on. I feel like anybody might have caught it somewhere on tape, but oh well. Like it happened now, I guess. And I mean, Numenor would be able to disappear in a crowd anyway, because I assume he has an Uglith mask as well. I mean, he has, yeah. So it's not like it would serve a big purpose, but yeah, they ideally should have somehow noticed that. But yeah, there you go. And we understand now what the war coordinator, so in this case Yamosk, does. Its purpose is to synchronize and essentially control several different Praetorite Vong ships. But the drawback of it is that it itself is actually really vulnerable. And the moment that the war coordinator gets destroyed or killed, the Vong that are under his control are essentially headless. Like they can't coordinate their attacks anymore. Like they can't do it by themselves, so there's just going to be chaos. So that's an interesting, also believable drawback, and it kind of gives you an idea of what might happen in the future. And yes, so now from Helskafor, the next target of them is a planet called Cernpedal, which is the most populated planet of the sector that they're in right now. Their goal is just to destroy it. And thinking that they think that all their tactics that they could possibly use would be too easily identifiable on this, much more connected planet. Like, let's say they couldn't do this poisoning with the dweebits that happen on Belkadan because Cernpedal is much better connected to other places. So what they want to employ is a tactic called Yogan's Core, which is gonna have them send a Doven Bazal. So Doven Bazal is essentially also biotech that creates gravitational fields. So you can pull something. The Doven Bazal can pull something. It can also push something away. That's its purpose. And they're gonna send one into the planet. And it manipulates gravitational fields and is strong enough to harness the power of an entire planet and to pull its moon down onto the planet. And apparently that happened to I think something along those lines happened to their home planet. I don't know if I remember this correctly, but yeah, it's a tactic that they're familiar with, and they want to use the same one on Cernpedal.
I mean, I was gone for a bit, but have you talked about like the Vong tech in general? Because I think we talked about this a little bit private. That it's unlike other stupid shit that gets introduced.
Yeah, because
it
has a pretty easy, like, cop-out way of just introducing something that's very strong and not really having to explain or justify its existence too much because, well, it's biotech from another galaxy. It kind of gives you an easy excuse. But it's also, it is very interesting because it plays with concepts. I mean, the Doven Bazals are going to be very interesting when we talk about them a bit later because there's so many different possible uses that you can that you have for all of this technology. I mean, and it's pretty scary. Like, Uglith masks alone are really useful. Like the possibility of adapting a whole different look. And I also think, especially with something like the War Coordinator, that the drawbacks are actually pretty believable. And also the Doven Bazals, they're going to be used in battle, of course, as well. And I also think their drawbacks are still pretty fair, you could say. Like, it's not like it's just an uber power weapon and you have no way of...
They are not quantum Doven Bazals,
Exactly. They're not literally undestroyable and you can't do anything. Like, you can't even physically stop this thing from moving. No, there is drawbacks that the characters are going to find out about in very natural ways. And let's say the Yamask, like, he's going to be relevant in this book more so. Like, the fact that if he's gone, the Praetorite Vong are essentially in chaos. They can't really fight anymore. I think that's very fair with the positive effect that the Coordinator has as long as it is active. So, yeah, Vong tech is just going to get increasingly introduced. And I think it's great. It's definitely fresh. It's not... Yeah, it isn't bound to the rules of the galaxy we know so far. Something like quantum, it's immediately going to be stupid because you're like, well, why isn't this a thing in the entire galaxy yet? Why isn't everybody having quantum armor on their ships or as armor for their ground troops? Whereas that always has the easy way out. Another galaxy, biotech, we don't know this yet. It's new. And that's cool. It works to its advantage. Mike's Vong tech believer is that, like Dan said, how multi-purpose it is, like how new tech inventions have multiple applications in real life. Yeah, like, and it makes sense. Yeah, of course, it is useful to have biotech that works as a translator, and not only as as input translation, but also output, that you can speak an actual other language. all of those things are very believably useful. I mean, the Dovin Basalts, I don't know if this will ever get addressed. Don't tell me if it does or does not. But the Dovin Basalts can be like really useful in normal settings, like that are not war related. So it is kind of believable that tech like that would exist. So it's interesting to see them. And yeah, as I said, they're strong. Sometimes they're ridiculously strong, but they don't seem too unfair yet.
So would you say, I don't know if it's just like based on this book because you're already on book 3, but one complaint about the Vong is always that they are overpowered. Would you agree with that? Because
I mean, compared to others, sure, I guess, but I mean, if we look at the kind of enemies we had, I mean, it's always been more luck than actual skill that stopped them. I mean, if you speak about I always forget the stupid names, the Corellian trilogy super and weapons.
Centerpoint
Station. I mean, that's ridiculously strong. We just didn't have a smart character using it at the time. But
yeah, but in this one, I'm thinking more with like their technology and stuff. I hear that's also overpowered. But like you said, I think it's balanced because it is strong.
It's not overpowered. It's different. So they don't actually. So our characters don't actually know what to do.
Yes, exactly. And over the course of the series, they learn and they adapt, and that's good stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, if let's say quantum armor from Jedi Academy trilogy, I mean that isn't in any way special technology. It's just a shield, but far stronger than any other shield. It's still kind of, how do I say this? It's kind of playing within the rule set of the universe because, well, you use shields to fight. I mean, that's what you do. It's just ridiculously strong. Whereas Vong Tech, yeah, as you said, it's different. I mean, the Dovin Basalts in battle, we're going to wait until we see the first battle scene, actually. But they have their own drawbacks that are believable, and they are not unfair. I guess the one thing you could say is maybe the most unfair, quote unquote, would be the Dark Tide plague, like that thing. But I don't even know. I don't have an explanation on how exactly that works, or if it's gonna be explained, and if that has any drawbacks. But yeah, so far I think Vong Tech is strong, but it's mostly just different, and it plays to rules that the characters just don't know yet, so they need to figure it out, and they figure it out really quickly because they're smart characters. That's all of this is coming back to, well, are these guys smart characters? And yeah, we're gonna see with Gavin in Onslaught, he's gonna figure out stuff pretty quickly and realize how to counter them. Yeah, so it's just different. It's not strong and different, not OP. Yes, like the fact that the Sun Crusher isn't still in use is just because the characters were retarded. Like that is a literally unbeatable weapon. You can do nothing against this other than, well,
imagine if the Vong had like their own version of the Sun Crusher.
It would have been so easy to not have the Sun Crusher be destroyed in Champions of the Force. Like one character with a brain.
What do you mean? We don't know what happened to it.
That's true.
Hide it somewhere.
You don't even.
Why don't they use it against the Vong? This would have been a perfect opportunity
to bring it back. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You don't.
Again, Kevin J. Anderson should have written this.
You don't even have an issue with ever running out of ammo. You can just Kip does this. You can literally, or Han, I don't know. You can literally fly through ships and you just destroy them like fucking Captain Marvel in Avengers Endgame. Like you just fly through them because, well, the material you're working with is indestructible. What's gonna happen? Like nothing.
Yeah, you're literally playing on God mode.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially like an unbeatable. Yeah, it's God mode. Yeah. I mean, what can you say? There's no competition, and to see people make fun of the Vong for this specifically is laughable, because I think that's the same kind of person who would recommend the Jedi Academy trilogy as peak fiction on the level of, Goethe and Schiller. And yeah, I don't.
Dude, we finally see Luke rebuilding the Jedi Order.
Yeah,
that's true.
Would you also agree with that? That Jedi Academy trilogy was very important to understand Vector Prime, because Luke has a Jedi Academy now. 20 years after the movies.
I couldn't have possibly extrapolated that from the book itself. I needed the Academy trilogy to remind me, hey, by the way, there's an academy now, because that's not obvious from the first mention of it. Yeah, don't get baited into essential reading, guys. It's not worth it, usually. Oh, man. Well, yeah,
well, if you didn't read it, you wouldn't have hated Kip, and that's
it. That would have seriously changed my. I mean, there would have been mentions of him killing billions of people, so that would have, or maybe even trillions. I don't know what Luke says, but yeah, yeah. Sometimes it's good to actually just not know things. Oh man, yeah. So yeah, as I said, the Yamusk has believable drawbacks to me, so I like that. And yeah, the tactic is now to go to Cernpedal, use Yogan's core tactic, which is put a Dovin Bazal there and pull the moon into the planet. And yeah, there you go. I as I said, I like this build up of the plan. The only thing I didn't like, well, the extreme side characters involved in this are a bit too stupid just to facilitate the plot. So the guys involved in Romamul and Osarian, the scientists that are not Daniqui, and later on the people of Cernpedal. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think so too, because you don't always have this perfect example of how Kip Durran's philosophy is incorrect if you don't know anything about Kip Durran. Because yeah, that is like all present in your mind. It's, well, you kind of try to be proactive and you killed billions of people doing so. So yeah.
That was a good thing though. They were Imperials.
They were Imperials, of course, yeah. To literally have the blood of billions of people on your hands is a good thing because they're evil. There you go. Chapter 12. Yeah, so Jason and Kip, they have a little dispute. Because yeah, Kip and another character, his student, who's called Miko Relia. I call him Relia.
Reglia.
Reglia. Okay, yeah, let's call him that. Miko Reglia. They are flying in a. Well, that was an interesting name, in an XJ X-wing squadron. So the XJ X-wings, that's like, I guess, newest generation of X-wings, and they are essentially flying around and looking for smugglers and criminals, and they fight them or they try to arrest them. And Jason's not impressed. He brings up how smugglers, of course, most importantly, somebody like Han, used to be considered friends, and how the Jedi are not supposed to be a police force. And all of this makes Luke feel strengthened in his desire for a Jedi Council when he sees also Kip being competitive with Jaina about the flight record that she just beat. He thinks that, to have this kind of competition, it's okay for the kids because that's just how kids are. But someone like Kip, so quote, someone like Kip should know better. I'm like, it's kind of in his nature to not know better, but I know what Luke means, and he is correct, of course. And yeah, everyone tries to goad Han and Chewie into trying to set the record for two-seater ships. So the other guys did it for the solo flyers, and this is now for a duo. And yet Chewie likes the idea, but Han actually doesn't like the idea. He thinks that he's too old for this. He doesn't want to do these ridiculous feats anymore. But they, in the end, they are convinced to try the course. They do pretty well until the station, just out of nowhere, loses all signals, meaning that communication to them is impossible. And what they have, they're on the course. This is kind of referring to the technology that Lando spoke about giving shields from a central generator to fighters. That is what runs this course as well, so that the ships that are flying get this shield, and that also has been shut off, so they don't have their collision shields anymore. And Luke tries to get to help them in some way. Chapter 13. Yeah, so Kip leaves the place and he goes to an observation. I hate this word. Buoy. Buoy? I think, was it a buoy?
Yeah, buoy.
Buoy, yeah. That he uses that to try and track smugglers at a very important hyperspace junction, and he picks up a signal from Balkadan and also the Helska system. So, from Danny Quee's ship, obviously. It's kind of lucky a bit that he went there exactly, since it is a pretty empty space, like that doesn't have lots of smugglers there at all. But I think like where he was, it's very close to Debrillion. So it's like, okay, it's like the next thing that he would naturally go to. So I was like,
that could have been why Belkadon was set up there in the first place, too.
Probably.
With an observation beacon, because it's not just pointing out outside of the galaxy.
That's probably true. Yeah, I think that's. So I was like, okay, yeah, that's believable. I understand. And yeah, he makes the understandable decision to go to Helska, since he didn't manage to really pick up the message, but he picked up the word storm, and he assumes therefore that somebody escaped from the storm, and he should rather try out and find out where they went to. So instead of just going to an uninhabited planet that they went away from. So exactly, yeah. And yeah, we learn a bit more about the drawbacks from starfighters having external shields. You can obviously have much stronger shields, and you don't need to worry about them. But you need very high security so that they can even work. And whenever these shield generators don't work, you'll have immediately chaos because all your starfighters suddenly have no shields anymore, and that's just a recipe for trouble.
Or quantum armor. So there's no downside there.
There is no downside. I mean, there literally is no downside. Like it's just literal god mode, god armor. But yeah, they think about it, and it's like, even though they would still have their own shields, this kind of, how did they say, like, it kind of has a psychological effect on you if you believe that you're vulnerable, because, like, of course, flying without a shield or with only your own shield and not with one powered from a generator, that gives you the sense that you can literally die at any moment, and it makes you more aware and more careful in your flying, and therefore also a better pilot. Which, I mean, it's kind of maybe a bit cruel to think about that, but it is true. Of course, you're far more alert if you're more fragile. But yeah, you kind of have, once again, this middle ground where, like, external shields, the way they speak about them, they are useful, they are good, they have definitely their uses, but they're not perfect, and they also have their own drawbacks. So once again, really believable. It's not that complicated, actually. Yeah. I mean, is there any difference? Like, we like to clown on the one because, oh lol, it's Filoni, but yeah, the other one isn't much smarter either.
I'd say it's worse.
It's worse, probably. Yeah.
Zillo Beast versus Sun Crusher, who wins?
Sun Crusher.
Okay.
By design.
By design, yeah. I mean, you can just literally fly into the Zillo Beast and destroy it, probably. So.
Just blow up the system.
Yeah, I mean, but even if you don't do what this thing is supposed to actually do, it still wins because it's designed to be god mode. It's stupid. Oh, man.
They should have used the Zillo Beast against the Vong.
Did Luke hide it?
Yeah, I mean,
Luke hide it somewhere.
The nice thing about reading about the Vong is that it got my fantasy up a bit again, like, because usually I've just consumed these books and I was annoyed by them, but now I'm once again, like, in the mood for Star Wars. I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds so cool. Like, oh, how well would the Empire do if they fought them, and how well would Thrawn do? And it's just kind of interesting now to think about stuff like this again, because you have good heroes and also good villains, and that's not as easy as it seems to be.
It's mentioned in the Sieve. That's bizarre.
That is funny. I couldn't possibly see how.
To be fair, that book, one of the main characters is an ancestor of Jaden Core, so yeah.
Well, there you go. That's true, actually, because, I mean, TIEs already fly with no shields of their own. I mean, especially the regular TIE fighters. So, yeah, that would be probably the best possible application. And, yeah, there you go. So, yeah, in exchange for Lando's connection to the smuggler world and, you know, the councilman's involvement with them, Han and Chewie agreed to go to Cernpedal to ship some material, which, you know, would be expensive to ship to this place otherwise. And Luke and Mara go to Belkadan to investigate some distress call that they called from Kip. And Kip himself, meanwhile, meets the Vong and is, you know, he goes there with his entire squadron. What was it? The dozen plus one, doesn't end one, some
dozen and two.
Dozen and two, yeah. I bet. Dozen and two. And he's the only one who survives the encounter. And yeah, we learn that they use gravitational tech to disable shields. That's just kind of the gist that we get. Yeah, there you go. He encounters the Vong at Helska 4 with his squadron, and he's the only one to seemingly survive. Yeah. Cernpedal contrivance. Yeah, we're gonna speak about that.
We're about to get to it, I think.
Yeah. So you could kind of start already at this point. Is it a bit contrived that this is the one place that they get sent to? Well, yeah, maybe kinda, but I think a minimum of contrivance is kinda normal for your story. Like, you know, that it's that it was lucky that Luke was the one who bought R2 and 3PO. You know, that also could have gone a different path. Like a relative amount of contrivance, I think, is inevitable. Is it crazy to think? I think it's inevitable to a certain degree. It's just like, how glaring is it? How obvious is it? And is the rest of the story contrived as well, or does it kind of evolve naturally from that point? So I think like them getting sent to Cernpedal of all places, I think is kind of contrived, but not so much that I would necessarily.
I may not remember this correctly. What also works for me it works because Cernpedal isn't that far away, right?
It isn't, yeah, but it's still like just, oh yeah, it's randomly at this moment in time to write exactly this place. I understand what he means. It is pretty close. I mean, I think all of it is in relatively at least the same sector, or I mean, it's in the same general
I think
area
it's because Lando is currently generally operating in that area, and that's also the area because it's like so in the Outer Rim ish, where the Vong start with their invasion and stuff. So I don't think it's a big problem. I
mean, as I said, I think to a degree contrivances in your story are inevitable. Like at some point, it's always
because the story has to happen, right?
Yeah, a story needs to happen in some way. So you're gonna have to start from somewhere that's a bit like, oh, that was lucky that he met exactly that character. But yeah, I think yeah, as long as from that point onwards you make it make sense and you let it evolve naturally and not rely on more and more contrivances, I think that's where good story and bad story separates from each other. Yeah, possibly. I mean, but then again, it's like, why does the Han Solo need to investigate a normal report?
And I do like the coincidence aspect of like, of course, of all the places they could have gone, they go to the one place where there is an attack coming up. And I think it works because I think, isn't that like a common thing in like the Bantam works as well? But it doesn't have like actual consequences there.
Yeah, it's like things happen, but then they just
and
happen.
I think it's just because in this one it actually has a consequence.
Yeah, I mean,
Even though I know you dislike the way it goes to that point, but
I
don't know. For me, I think it has this. It
I
works
think,
with like
I
this.
think you can very easily write it so that Lando is sending them because of the moon thing, but they don't actually realize the extent of how far it's going. So Lando's actually trying to get his stuff out, and that's why they're going.
I think that could also be reasonably made. Yeah, I mean, my lack of enjoyment of the entire setup doesn't really start here. It's going to start a bit later. But yeah,
I think there are very easy ways to fix it, and I think they should have been here, but
yeah,
it just is what it is.
It is what it is, and it's kind of tough because most of the other stuff surrounding it before and afterwards is written really competently, and it's kind of tough to really say. Yeah, I also think there's easy ways to fix it and keep the story basically the same, but yeah. It's like how kind of end up very close to the cells and the Death Star. I mean, a lot of things happen, I think, where like that's kind of lucky that they met this guy right here, right now, at this moment. To a degree, it's inevitable, I think. Yeah. Exactly. So chapter 14. And yeah, Kip manages to survive, and he fights off some insects or creatures that are trying to eat their way through his ship. He also thinks, smartly enough to save one of their bodies so that even if he might die, that thing can be studied and people can see what the hell that thing is. He briefly thinks of returning to the Brilliant, to Lando, but instead he targets the much closer planet Cernpedel, which is also understandable. Like, okay, get the first connection there is. And Miko Reglia, who we thought kind of that he also died, he actually survived, and he ends up with together with Danny in captivity, and he seems to have a chance at escaping, which was that was their plan, of course, trying to escape. But the Vong, of course, are not going to let that happen. What they try to do is they want to try and break Miko to essentially see what the Jedi are capable of. What's happening to him is that he is handed over to the Yamosk. It looks like he is about to be eaten by him or something. And yeah, the other Vong, they're like constantly whispering to him like how worthless he is, and that's essentially the gist of it. And it seems to imply that also influences him mentally, where I thought that was maybe a bit childish that had any influence on him. But yeah, whenever he's about to be fed to Yamosk, he feels he feels a lot of despair, and he can't stay calm. And every time they try to feed him to him, then they take him away again, and they do this multiple times too. Every time, essentially inject this fear of death into him. I kind of liked it. It read a lot better, but I did wonder, because it seemed like Yamosk did something supernatural to make him afraid. Like not it's not simply the fear of death, but Yamosk is also doing something to him that increases his despair. And I didn't quite understand how that worked. I don't think we'll get an explanation, because I'm like, yeah, that it just happens and that's it. It obviously couldn't possibly be the Force, because they have no connection to the Force. But yeah, so I was like, maybe I would like more of an explanation of what, is it a biological thing that they're doing to him? What exactly is happening there? We don't really find out. It's just he's afraid because he's always close to death and then gets pulled out again, and that happens multiple times. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the fact that we can even have a debate about this kind of proves that it's easily salvageable. And yeah, Bantam is just like,
it's nice to have a book where its main problems is that it's a bit contrived in some places.
Yeah, I mean, that's a sign that your book's generally pretty good. If it could have been a bit more natural at some places.
There is no quantum in this book.
There's no quantum. Yeah, that's one of the best problems you can have.
That's another thing we have to keep in mind. We need a quantum counter for the rest of New Jedi Order.
I hope it's 0. I don't know, but
yeah, me too.
Oh man, exactly. Yeah, so that's that. Chapter 15. Yeah, so Han, Chewie, and Anakin, they are on Cernpedal, and one of its moons, called Dobido, is falling towards the planet. The locals, though, they think that means that their local goddess is appearing. So, believing that this is happening in accordance to their beliefs, they don't leave Cernpedal, they stay. The trio, of course, immediately runs away, realizing, oh shit, this is kind of fucked up. But as they're trying to go back to the ship, their cargo is being taken out at that point. And yeah, for some reason, people just go inside their ship and look at their stuff and not letting them move in again. And they need at least half an hour to get everyone who's outside of the Falcon to leave, and then needed another half an hour to get all the blind passengers out of the ship. That to me, that's kind of where it started for me. When this sounds really stupid, and it's. I mean, I kind of knew in general at least what the purpose of this entire plot line was, and I immediately recognized, okay, this is to get time to pass, so we will later on be in a situation where Chewie is gonna die. And yeah, to me that was that's a bit much. I thought Chewie could literally push everybody out of the way. They even tried to need to walk around them so they can even enter the Falcon. So I was like, maybe it needed 5 minutes tops to get everyone away and then leave the planet. But yeah, what they find is that there is a gravitational pull at a very specific spot, and that can be read from data from a weather satellite, which also is once again okay, that's not a secret thing that only Han has on his ship. It's readily available for everybody, so
it's a normal thing to have.
Exactly, it's usual planetary equipment that they evidently understand and use. So I was like, why doesn't nobody recognize this? And yeah, Anakin wants to try to find the spot where it's at exactly, while Han and Chewie are organizing the evacuation. Because yeah, at some point the people just stop believing that it's their goddess, and now they realize, oh no, wait, the moon's just dropping and we need to go. Because that is also a thing. The moment they realize this, they could have already moved away, and we wouldn't even be in need of Han and Chewie organizing anything. So yeah. I mean, that's also a sign of quality, that you need to reread it really a lot to see some flaws in it. I mean, I think it's flawed, but yeah,
only if you properly read it every time, then
yeah, exactly. Then you notice it. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I agree with both points. I still think it's a far above average book. It's a pretty great book. But yeah, I think that development could have been done a lot better. Who is the mayor of Cernpedal? I don't know. I didn't know what if there was a bigger point of this. Who because the mayor of Cernpedal, he isn't he isn't of the Cernpedal race. He is a human, as far as I remember, and he's just a guy. He's resignated. He understands that he's tried to warn everybody, but they just don't listen to him, and he's there well, that's fucked. I guess we'll all die now.
It's Majora's Mask.
Yeah, true. Yeah. You're sure that it might not be Boba's daughter instead? Because have you read all Abel G. Pena stories and articles where he talks about that? Maybe that's Boba's daughter. You don't know. Exactly. So yeah, those were the questions I asked myself. Why didn't the people on Cernpedal read the data and conclude that for themselves? Because yeah, nothing changed from, okay, that's our goddess, to, oh wait, no, that's not our goddess. Yeah, it's all just obviously costing valuable time to do something that essentially could have happened days ago already. when this started occurring. Yeah, so there you go. Chapter 16. So Luke and Mara, they find Belkadan. The atmosphere is full of carbon dioxide, methane, and sulfur. But it's
It's
not
full of
them.
meth.
Meth, exactly. Methane, cow
Okay.
farts, whatever. Exactly. But what they realize is that the planet, I mean, of course, that sounds like a deadly atmosphere that we wouldn't survive in, and nothing on this planet, but the planet itself isn't actually dead. It's just the atmosphere is far different. Exactly. And they have this little like back and forth where Luke tries to convince Mara to go back to the Brillion. And he tries to find excuses for them that doesn't tell Mara precisely, because he assumes that she will understand, oh, I think you're too weak. You know, not in like an accusatory way, but of course she would actually be too weak because she's ill. She, of course, is livid the moment that she realizes that that's what he implies, but he tries to give other, other sensible reasons why she should go back, which to me it just seemed like a nice interaction that was in character for both of them, which also for Luke and Mara is not self-evident. So that was nice. Yeah, so they land on the planet, they enter the Excal 4 station, so where the scientists were before. And we have this like very eerie and quiet atmosphere. It sounded kind of nice. Like, yeah, once again, it kind of reminded me of them investigating, I don't know, Wayland Yutani station. Like it has a very strange and creepy atmosphere to it, and I think I like that a lot. And they both of them leave.
It's kind of like the start of Aliens when the whole Strife Force shows up at the colony.
Yeah,
and they're searching after the massacre.
Exactly, and it's just you just see these. You see the remainders of everything, and you kind of are trying to puzzle together what actually happened here before you arrived. It's pretty cool. It's always great. We don't have that a lot in the EU, this kind of atmosphere, but I like it every time because it's nice. It's neat. And yeah, they even find like diaries that are there. You know that in the last moment, the last note just gets interrupted or something. That kind of thing. It's pretty cool. And yeah, they leave R2 alone to extract some data, and then they go through the rest of the station alone. The book tries to justify the fact that they're splitting up because they're kind of more familiar with the place now, but yeah, they could have just waited for R2 first to be finished and then to move together as a group. But it's understandable. It's like, okay, he tried to justify it. That's fine. And Yamara, she makes some pretty smart conclusions. She saw the dweebits outside, and also that some scientists had one of those dweebits in his room along with a vial. So she takes that with her. She's like, okay, that's clearly the cause of the problems in some way. That's something that doesn't belong here. So I'll take that with me to see whatever the hell this is about. And yeah, as she and Luke are gone, R2 gets attacked by Yeoman Carr, and he tries to escape. But that was kind of weird. He forgets that he's still connected to the computer, so he tries to like roll away, but his connective piece is still in the computer, which was kind of funny. I just wondered like, how can R2 forget something? But droids, that's always a weird thing. And yeah, that connective piece breaks because it just moves out by force essentially. Mara then hears R2 and she goes to fight Yeoman Carr. It looks like she seems to be losing because Yeoman Carr has a weapon that's like some form of slime that snares her in place so she can't move. Luke doesn't feel that, and he needs like R2 goes to him and brings him to the fight, which to me seemed kind of weird because like there is the description that Mara doesn't feel anything but calm, so he wouldn't necessarily notice, but I feel like in some way he would pick up that something's different. But But yeah, that's me. And Yeoman Carr, he has a staff weapon that we're actually going to see a lot. I think, is it also called an amphi staff in English? Because that's, yeah, okay, an amphi staff. So it's a staff, it has a snake head, and that snake head, of course, can inject venom. It can resist lightsabers. And yeah, he uses that to attack Mara. It's funny because
he can make his limp snake pretty hard, pretty quick.
Exactly, yeah.
And it spits acid.
Yeah, they're pretty useful. And the snakehead actually manages to bite Mara and inject venom. But what she does, which is kind of cool, is I think she uses kind of the force also to let the blood flow from the wound that she has, so that the venom gets extracted that way, which was a smart way to deal with that. Like, she immediately knew, whatever that thing put into me right now, that's probably not good, and it should probably get out of here. So that was nice. Yeah, I think it's a cool weapon. It's pretty neat.
Quote women.
Yeah, that's so funny because it would be so overkill. Or no, it could have, because of course the snake head. I mean, the snake can
throw it and it would destroy starships. It'd be so
that
cool.
would have to be. Oh man, yeah, it would destroy the only weakness that they have, which is you can stab the snake into its mouth, and that's how you then kind of kill the M3 staff, basically. But yeah, that would be nice. That would probably be a Kevin thing. That, I don't know, Nomenor and Shadao Shay, they would have a quantum staff that's like even bigger and better than the other ones. And yeah, so
you can like retract. It's got tri-faced amphistaff.
Exactly. It's got Bluetooth as well, and I don't know, maybe a little fridge or whatever. Multifunctional, yeah, would be.
You can even tell time.
It could even tell time, yeah, in a very stylish way too. I mean, that is the logical conclusion of it, wouldn't be? And yeah, Mara.
The Hydra stuff.
It's got 3 heads.
And every time you cut one off, 2 more, two more grow out. Hail Hydra and whatnot. That would be kind of funny, like just purposefully beheading your Hydra staff so many times so it has, I don't know, 50 heads at some point. That's funny, yeah. The Hydra staff. I mean, that would be something that Kevin would do, right? Like,
oh yeah,
Nomenor would have a 3-headed staff.
He would definitely bring that in. He would introduce the Amphi staff as is, but then he would bring in, there's also this ultra version for like the more badass characters.
Exactly. It has like golden linen and whatnot. It's the
speaking of the Kevinisms, since we are on the moon scene.
Yeah.
Obviously, Kevin loves his references. Mm-hmm. And as you may have noticed, this book isn't very heavy on referencing stuff. Not from the movies, necessarily.
Not from Young Jedi Knights.
Yeah.
Or any other thing, really. Because it doesn't need to. It's standing on its own legs, and it doesn't need to remind you of other books.
Yeah, but obviously, if this was written by the genius, Kevin J. Anderson,
mm-hmm.
The Cernpatil scene would have had this great reference. Where Han is realizing the moon is falling down. And then he would realize this is no space station. It's a moon.
He would probably have like that whole plot would be, this moon is looking like a space station and everyone thinks it's only there to land on the planet, but then they find out, no, it's actually the moon crashing down.
Exactly.
And it would be, it's not a space station, that's a moon. Okay, that is pretty funny. I would respect him for just writing that.
I mean, he's the guy who gave us the New Hope Town.
New Hope Town, newer Hope Town, newest Hope Town.
Another Hope Town.
Yeah. Jesus. Dark staff. Yeah, it would be like the anti-staff. It would like be able to eat the other staffs as well. Like, it would be so much better. Jesus, there's so many ideas, and none of them sound, out of the ordinary for him. So that's kind of amusing.
What kind of side plots would Kevin add in Vector Prime? Useless ones that don't go anywhere. Would he finally bring back? Oh my god, guys! The ultimate fan theory. The mayor of Cernpedal is the garbage king from the lower levels of Coruscant.
He worked his way up. Maybe. I feel like the asteroid course would be an actual it's only a point where they are like for a few chapters and then they leave again. But I think this would be an actual side plot where the entire purpose of the three kids, like they wouldn't have any philosophical or practical discussions with any Jedi. They would just go to this place to beat this record.
And then it's like being on a roller coaster.
Exactly, yeah. It's like maybe there would be. Maybe we could also have a reference like, oh yeah, number 10 on the asteroid course.
Then Han would go, "This is just like in Empire Strikes Back when we got away from the Imperials."
Exactly, yeah. Because don't you remember?
Jaina would be the one to be like, "Oh, this is just like when our parents escaped from the Imperials back in the day."
But it is funny, right? The asteroid course, and Han is flying it, and you kind of know, oh yeah, well he has experience with that because he used to do shit like that.
Oh my god, was this post Phantom Menace? Because if he had seen the movie and then was writing Vector Prime, Kevin would be like,
"No, this was concurrent with Phantom Menace."
I think so too. Yeah. But yeah, like it's like it is kind of a callback to well, he literally flew through an asteroid field in Empire Strikes Back, but it also presupposes that the guys who read this are like smart and can figure that out without the character saying, "Hey, remember how this is literally in this book or in this movie?" So you think, oh my god, yeah.
There's a feeling that's a good trick.
The Vong would kill Dorsk 83. That would definitely happen. I mean, the stupid Dorsk species hasn't suffered enough. First book, yeah, definitely. They're like Kenny
Dorsk 84, Dorsk 85, Dorsk 86.
They're like Kenny from South Park. Like they just die. He just dies every
punchline in every book.
Yeah. Exactly. Like every book, there's a new Dorsk that dies
in a new way.
Killed Dorsk, you bastards!
Exactly. Oh god, you killed Dorsk.
Oh, he would be the one who jumps down to the Dovin Basal on Cernpedal, right?
Oh yeah, he would just jump.
Yeah, that's how he would die in Vector Prime.
Oh no, he would. I think what he would do is maybe he would also have like a whole, I don't know, capital ship full of Jedi, and all of the Jedi would give him power again, and he would
so he can hold up the moon for a little bit longer.
He tries to do it like in Dark Side. He's pushing the moon out of the system.
Exactly. He's literally
and he's creating like a fucking chain reaction and destroys the star system.
And maybe he could aim so that he throws the moon into the enemy fleet.
Yeah.
And maybe he pushes too hard and that whole moon collapses and it's like just a
he throws it to Helska 4 or whatever and destroys the coordinator.
I mean, literally.
He kills the Yamosk by throwing the moon back at it.
Literally, if we want to keep continuity with the Bantam era, why would that even be a theoretical thing that could happen? Like, yeah, let's just push the moon and kill everyone.
What if we took the moon and pushed it somewhere else?
Exactly.
Oh man, yeah, I have lots of ideas. Yeah. Who is the mayor of Cernpedal? Why don't we know that? Jesus Christ, guys. Oh man, yeah. So so Mara, she fights with Yeoman Kar. She tries to use the Force. I assumed she tried to use some telekinesis, but of course she can't. But exactly, yeah. So that was the first time I thought about it, and I wasn't sure how. Because it is a foreign concept that there are living beings that literally, I mean, not only can't you feel them in the Force, but if you try to use Force push against them, like nothing happens. Like they don't care. It kind of made me like theorize, like if a Sith tried to use Force lightning against them, like does that also not do anything then? Because I assume it wouldn't, because
We see that later on in the series, I think. Yeah.
Okay, well then
what happens? I'm not going to spoil what happens, but yeah, that is touched upon.
It's touched on. Okay, well, because there's obviously then still ways around it. I mean, you can still use the Force to throw a rock against them. That of course works, but you literally you push it. It doesn't do anything. Nothing happens. And at that point, I was like,
I think it's Darktide when they start looking around for the absence of the Force, and that's how they locate them.
Yeah, that's true. Especially because Ethor as a planet is so really alive, so it's very obvious to them, which helps them. That's also smart.
R.I.P.
way to deal with that. Yeah,
Thor actually.
Thor.
I4 by Michael Stackpole.
Yeah. No, it's true because what I like, I mean, it's one thing to write a satisfying thing to a problem, but to me it already means a lot if an author recognizes that something could be a problem and just tries to address it. Whether it works or not, that's another thing, but just
I remember you complimenting me because I did that in my Jedi Prince fanfiction.
Yeah, it's like there's a problem here, but you also at least address the problem. And that's something like that means a lot already. And yeah, the fact that NJ authors thought about this because, yeah, I mean, okay, choking doesn't work, pushing doesn't work, but what about lightning? I mean, that's a physical representation kind of the Force. Does that not work? It's good that somebody at least bothered to think about such a thing because it was planned out in contrast to everything else, or most of everything else. Yeah, there you go. Now I'm looking even more forward to reading more stuff. There you go. And yeah, but at that point I was kind of skeptical. I was like, okay, I'll have to see how it plays out more and more and how it gets explained, maybe, because I assume there will be some story of why the things are like they are. So I was like, okay, I'll let this just be for now. But Mara eventually manages to kill him. She reunites with Luke as well. They find the Vilips, so the biotech communication thing, and that it also they find out that it sent a message to Car. Yeah, and they found like from the data in the computer on Excal 4, they find out that the comet, quote unquote, landed on Helska 4, and they're like, okay, then we should go there now because this seems to be connected in a way. Yeah, I don't know when this sentence came to my mind, but I feel increasingly convinced of it. NJO is what the entire EU pretends to be, or like what most people.
That's actually correct. Like,
yeah, what most people even seem to misremember that the EU was, because I remember, especially when like Rise of Skywalker came out, I was also so into like just praising the EU, even though I haven't read any of it. And now, like back in the day, it was like really, oh yeah, we had this great thing here, and look what shit they did. And yeah,
now it always was like, and there's that weird thing with the New Jedi Order. It's kind of weird how there's like the enemy that's not in the Force.
Chewie, Moon, lol, as if that isn't the coolest.
But everything else is great. And
yeah,
it's like the exact reverse.
Yeah, and now whenever I read that, and I know that I was that guy 4 years ago, or even 3 years ago, I kind of cringe a bit. It's like, oh Jesus, that's so untrue. I'm sorry. We should. It doesn't do the EU a good service by pretending it was greater than it was. The greats were like, I mean, I said it, I think the EU has the best Star Wars and the worst Star Wars there is. I truly believe that. So yeah, there you go. But yeah, we have that, and yeah, we are back with Miko, and Miko is now indeed broken by the high amount of simulated executions by Yamask, which is essentially replayed in his head over and over again. And that's once again when I ask myself, like, what beyond fear does he have? Like, is this creature actually like doing a magic thing where it forces him to replay that, or is it just the immense fear of death that he has? It wasn't 100% sure with me. I mean, the way his his status like was described, like the way he feels right now, that was really good. But I just didn't fully understand the context and the background of it. Chapter 17. Yeah, so Anakin finds the source of the graph field, which is a living creature. And Han says that, at this point the moon has already dropped down towards the planet so much that it's too late, and Cernpedal is essentially doomed and they need to leave.
This is why we need Dorsk 83.
Of course, yeah. I mean, with him there, we could literally move everything away.
Hold it.
Yeah, exactly, to just hold it. Oh, man. Yeah, but that was also a thing where I'm like, wasn't this kind of obvious before that? Like, now you realize when essentially we're so knee-deep in shit that we won't manage to climb out of it again. And yeah, so the mayor of Cernpedal City, he's there with them at the Dovin Bazaar, and he has a huge thermal bomb with him to destroy it, which also seems to work. Like, he just shoots that thing and it gets destroyed. I was also like, well, if he just went there with that bomb the moment that he read the weather satellite data to recognize, well, oh, that's where the graph field is from, I should go there. Oh, there's this thing. Yeah, let's just shoot it. Essentially, all of this could have been prevented. So that was like, yeah, I don't think that's good. And yeah, but most ships that are tasked with evacuation have ascended at this point and are preparing to fly away. So I was like, why didn't they just go already? And the Vong now, as we know, are about to attack and to hunt down the refugees. I was like, yeah, you could have just jumped to hyperspace and came back to bring even more people with you, but that didn't happen. And yeah, while everything is like going down, Chewie is still there to save children. I was like, okay, it kind of just, there's this one source of problems, and now everything is just a derivative of that. So if they started days ago already, there wouldn't even be kids that needed to be saved right now. And so it's like, okay, that's also still a problem. And Anakin helps him with that. And as they seem done and are about to jump into the Falcon, and that was kind of weird. So Han is piloting the Falcon. He's parking in kind of a way that isn't benefiting them. They can't really. They have to walk against the wind, not with the wind. And he's hanging like in midair. It was kind of difficult for me to fully picture what was going on, but essentially, they are standing in the direction where Chewie needs to walk to, but the wind is coming against him. And what he does is, I think he manages to save that child. He also manages to throw. No, I think he threw the child, and Anakin went onto the Falcon himself. I don't know fully how it was. It might have been that he threw Anakin. I don't fully remember. And
this was after Anakin got hit with the rock, wasn't it?
Yeah, so essentially, yeah, they wanted to move back already. Anakin was hit with a rock, and he flew back, and Chewie walked back.
So I think he throws Anakin on it too.
Yeah,
I literally didn't write it down either.
Exactly, and then Chewie wasn't able to go up, even though I think Wookiees are supposed to jump high. So I was like, how high are they, and how high is he able to jump? Because I think he is supposed to be able to do that. But he is not able to do it, so he remains on the planet, and it's in that moment that the moon crashes down, and Chewie is like facing the moon with his fists raised and yelling against it, which I think, and that's kind of where the switch for me happens. Like, everything up to this point, I think, was pretty stupid, and from that moment onwards, where Chewie like starts to die, essentially, that's when I think it's fantastic. So the way that he faces
like
the moon,
a Chad.
Exactly. He faces the moon, fists raised in the air, yelling against it. That to me sounds like the way that Chewie would need to. If you want to kill a character like Chewbacca, that's the way you would have to do it. If not, by
old age.
Exactly, that's it. And yeah, so once again, I was like, couldn't you have organized help from the Brillion? Like anybody, wouldn't anybody be here? You could have done that like a while ago, but you didn't. And I thought for sure Chewie would be able to jump up, but he wasn't. And yeah, that was the scene. And I thought, yeah, as I said, I think this needed better like logical setup, but the scene itself was fantastic, and also the consequences of that scene and how people are gonna act on it. That's also gonna be fantastic. But yeah, that's it essentially. And yeah, maybe now's the time to speak about was it a good thing to kill Chewie? I think if you want to kill like a more main character kind of guy, I think Chewie is like the most central figure you could justify to kill, I think, because I may be a bit, that's just how I am, I guess, but I don't like heroes dying ever, really, I think. Yeah, so I'm like, I wouldn't like Luke dying in a book, like in a fight or something. Chewie is like, that's kind of the one I understand because, well, they made the life death thing into such a thing that he can only ever follow Han around everywhere.
Yeah, he can only escape it from using death, so it would have to be him. Which I would argue is a mistake on the.
Yes, that it's dumb that life death works that way, but yeah, the way that it's set up now, I guess they need to follow that rule. Yeah, so I think it's kind of tough to say because like how different might the series gone if it was the same, but it was just another character, not Chewie who died there. I don't know, but yeah, I think like Chewie.
I don't think that would have worked because the reason I like Chewbacca's death, one, Chewie is useless. Throughout most of the expanded universe, he's completely useless. The most character stuff he ever got was in Blackfleet Crisis of all things.
Yep, he doesn't need to be, but sadly he just turned out that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're gonna kill anyone, it's him.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, you give payoff to the life debt thing because he saves Han's kid, so that's also good. And then obviously what comes after his death, because if you kill anybody else, it wouldn't have the same impact on Han, because it also helps solving the problem with Han being a stagnant character who never really has any development or an arc.
The only other person I could see it working would be Lando, but I don't want to kill Lando.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's the only one that would have the same kind of influence on Han that would also be realistic. I mean, of course, Leia would have the same influence on that, but that couldn't have happened. I mean, it would have been stupid if it did. Yeah,
Leia's force sensitive. She would have been fine.
Yeah, presumably,
or at least she should have. But
she should, ideally, yeah. But yeah, I think exactly. Yeah, I think Chewie is enough of a side character, quote unquote, where I don't have a hard time justifying.
That's another thing that Jason points out. It also made his previous appearances more meaningful retroactively. Something that New Jedi Order also does. It's not a big spoiler, but it kind of sets up like Chewie's son is still around, like Lumpy, aka Varu. So that's a nice like full circle thing at the end that gets brought up where you could have done something or just leave it this way open-ended, which is also, it's a nice fit. Chewie works the best as like if any of the main characters die, Chewbacca was the best choice.
I think so. I mean,
both for his character on his own and also the reaction that gets out. Yeah, everyone else.
I think there's like of the main cast of the main rotation of main characters, I don't think there is anybody you could have justified really. Maybe Lando, but even that I don't.
That would have some effect on Han, but not really Luke and Leia, I guess. Because obviously they are good friends, but the Bantam era kind of failed.
Yeah. In that regard. But the fact is, I think kind of we need to do that. And I think NJ to an extent does it where it pretends as though Bantam did more things than it did.
Yes.
Like it's
that is very evident.
Because I mean, here Jason also says that Chewie was a pretty irrelevant character for most of his time in the U. That is true,
which is also a mistake, by the way.
That is dumb. Like it was a gradual development that we ended up at this point where it's like Chewie is really a glorified bodyguard. That's just the thing that they have given him, but there wasn't necessarily a need to do that. They just chose to do it.
When are we going to talk about the Chewbacca comic? Because that also has some stuff
next
there.
Episode.
Okay, that's worth talking about.
With Dark Tide 1.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so exactly. So there's other deaths I have heard of in this series and other ones where I'm like, I don't think this is ever justified. That's just kind of just in general,
this
because
that's probably my second favorite death in New Jedi Order, I think. I
think I can. I think
you don't know. You don't know that. You actually don't know which number one is.
Okay, then never mind. But yeah, no, I think Chewie is justifiable. It is kind of sad that what you're saying here, Jason, is true. Shouldn't have been, but yeah, that's where we are. So yeah.
Oh, Pico, I think I know what your number one is, but I think my number one is actually something different than that.
I don't know. Message me.
Okay.
And Joe's guys, exactly. Yeah, that's also what I said. Yeah, it's it pretends as though what came before was a lot more meaningful by just pretending that it doesn't have glaring issues. Like what Kip Durran did in the Jedi Academy trilogy, it's going to get repeatedly mentioned, and it pretends that it's much more kind of nuanced, I guess, than it nuanced that it actually was. So yeah, it wasn't. I think
it was very dramatic.
I mean, the scenery is dramatic. The immediate aftermath of Han talking to Anakin, which we're going to talk about now, that is pretty dramatic. And of course, everything that happens afterwards. I mean, it influences so many stories directly. I think that also is a factor. The death of Chewie is so infamous that it popularized the NJO kind of beyond the usual EU boundaries, I think, because it is kind of shocking to hear about, oh wait, there was a book and they killed Chewbacca in there. I think that is, from a normie perspective, pretty meaningful that this sort of thing happened.
I mean, there were newspapers talking about it.
Yeah, and apparently, if I understood correctly, I mean, Salvatore got death threats over it, which, I mean, yeah, that's kind of stupid. But well, there we are. I mean, isn't it always the reactions that make the death dramatic in the first place? I mean, I think a literal moon dropping on him, I think that was enough that it raised the drama immediately. Nice. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Pico, I didn't see that one coming.
These assholes speaking about stuff I don't know again. Oh well.
Yeah, we don't want to spoil you.
It's a really good scene.
Okay, yeah. Well, then
especially like the aftermath of it, which is
nice. Well, then I look forward.
The reason I like it so much.
So, chapter 18. Let's just continue for now. Yeah. So we're immediately in the aftermath. Han is obviously he's very cold and he's very angry right now, and he's like slowly, gradually picking up in intensity. He's speaking to Anakin. He's just telling him like you left him behind, basically. And in the beginning, he's like very, very cold and like dead inside about it, but he gets increasingly more angry. Anakin, of course, almost cries and runs away after trying to reason with him how he couldn't possibly have saved him, which of course is true. But yeah, that's gonna be a thing that these characters need to deal with. That this was to a degree an inevitable outcome, at least in the moment it was inevitable. And both perspectives are kind of understandable. Of course, you get why the characters would react the way they do. So yeah, we're just kind of left with that for now. the fleet at Cernbridle gets attacked by Vong insects, which Han tries to repel. He's pretty venomous towards Anakin, and he's very depressed about when he thinks about how he's even supposed to fly this ship without Chewie. And yeah, Anakin in the end manages to repel them by setting the outside of the Falcon like under electricity, so they all get blasted off from the armor of the Falcon, which was kind of neat. And yeah, Luke he leaves the Jade Saber in his X-wing. He gets pulled into a Dovin Bazal on Helska 4. He barely survives and eventually goes back to Debrilion with Mara. And Kip returns to Han. Seemingly those beetles followed him into hyperspace, which I was like, okay, that's pretty meaningful. Like, oh, these kinds of beetles, they just followed along. But yeah, that's what happens, I guess. And yeah, they return to Debrilion. They sent messages to Lando to prepare his defenses. I was like, they should probably contact the New Republic as well. And yeah, they at least know that he will arrive before the Vong are gonna arrive on Debrilion. Kanino Malix. What a beautiful name. Yeah, true. Grutchins, yeah, that was the name. True, yeah, that's the thing. They were before bus droids. This is funny because I like the concept of bus droids. I mean, it's looks like a very cheap and easy way of disposing of enemies. So I thought they were kind of neat. And yeah, there you go. I guess the pendant of the Vong were the first ones, actually. Chapter 19. Yeah, Han is also angry at Lando, and Lando tries reasoning with Han that he, of course, didn't know and couldn't have known about what was going to happen on Cernpedal. And
is it because I'm black?
Yes.
You should have asked. No, it's not fair. Kevin J. Anderson would have been based about it, but if it was like, I don't know, maybe Denning or something.
Oh my god, if Kevin wrote that scene, Han and Lando would be playing the Falcon again.
Exactly, they would play a Sabak game over who has to accept guilt of over the actions. Like if Han loses, then it's like, okay, I'm at fault. That would be neat. I mean, it would be
hilarious.
It would sound just like Harrison Ford.
So. It would. You could just hear his voice.
Exactly, yeah. But yeah, and yeah, he also tries to tell him, hey, without Chewbacca doing what he did, a lot of people would be dead right now, which includes Kip as well, and they wouldn't know and couldn't prepare for the attack about to happen if all of this didn't happen, and if they weren't present at that point, which of course all of that is true, and yeah, I hoped for a bit more emotion from Lando directly. It's like maybe we'll get a scene, and I guess we kind of got the scene in the Chewbacca comic, but yeah. And yeah, Jason and Jaina, they try to be there for Anakin, because Anakin, of course, feels guilty, and well, the way that Han responded to him doesn't help either. Jason's even saying that this would be like Luke, like because he blames himself and saying that he should have tried to save Chewie, and Jason's like, this would have been the same. And in this case, a callback to a previous work makes sense because it makes a point. This would have been like Luke killing himself, like trying to attack the stormtroopers on the Death Star after Obi-Wan sacrificed himself to save them. Like he did all he could for Chewie, and he didn't do anything wrong. And Anakin starts crying after he said that, which is very nice and emotional scene, and it finally gives the characters, like the kid characters, a lot more depth and
but why is Jason not making his trademark jokes?
Okay.
He makes a joke in the scene about eating
this scene by Kevin J. Anderson, and Jason needs to make a Kevin J. Anderson joke about the situation. What would it be?
What does it take to take out a Wookiee?
A
moon?
A spaceship-sized moon.
Or yeah, like what? Wait, what? Yeah, or something stupid like what does Chewie have that nobody of us has? A moon or something? Like it's some stupid joke. I think there is one that would fit perfectly.
Something about a moon landing. there is jokes Kevin could have come up with if he had written this book.
Exactly. Yeah. In A New Hope, Chewie landed what he thought was on a moon, but now a moon landed on Chewie.
Yeah.
Isn't that ironic? I mean, yeah. I mean,
you stupid idiot! Why are you crying?
So you killed your father's best friend. Fucking pussy.
It's like this. Yeah, maybe he could have, I don't know, shown him a meme or something. You know, this Captain America meme, like, so this didn't go as you thought it would, or something like
so
that.
That just happened.
So literally, I will acknowledge what happened, and that's gonna be funny. No, actually, Jason is a very compassionate and people-oriented person. Like he
obviously trademark signs of the dark side.
Obviously, yeah. I mean,
he tried to save slaves, so
that hasn't happened yet. But yes, he will. He will, in fact.
Try that will happen.
Just like Anakin Skywalker.
He is comforting his family, and if you remember, in The Phantom Menace, Anakin tried to comfort his mother because she was sad that he was about to leave. I mean, do I need to add anything else?
Like it's right there. I don't understand why this is so complicated for people.
True. But yeah, there you go. So of course the kids, they also want to defend the planet. Leia will be the one to be Han's co-pilot. Anakin is still hoping to be forgiven by Han, and he gets no sign of that happening. Han is now, very angry, and he just thinks about how he wants to kill literally every Wong that approaches him, which, I mean, that is obvious, yeah. And yeah, the kids are supposed to stay close to Lando's, station on the ground, because that's where they will get their shields from. So Lando's actually going to use his tech of giving shields from like a central reactor to the ships, and they're supposed to just stay close to the ground, so that's where they can make use of them. But yeah, but at some point the station, when the attack commences, it starts to take increasing damage, and at some point when the shield stops working, they're like, well, the shields were really the only reason we had to stay here, so now we may as well join the fight outside the orbit, which is like, that's like, a thing a kid would do, trying to bend the logic of the rules that they're given and try to, do things that obviously they aren't meant to do. And in this case, it's perfectly understandable that they want to actually join in the fight and help everybody and not stay on the ground. Oh yeah, when did that happen?
Oh, this reminds me. You have read Tatooine Ghost, right?
Yeah.
Remember how Qui-Gon, instead of like buying Shmi, like setting her free of the slavery, he sent her an iPad?
I remember that vividly, yeah. I think I saw a meme where Qui-Gon just saved Shmi instead of Anakin, like he left Anakin behind and took Shmi with him. That's kind of funny. Yeah, I guess he wanted to save Shmi, which is the only slave that he wanted to save. And I think it's less about the slavery.
He only said he wanted to be a Jedi and free the slaves. That was his dream.
Fuck Kidster, I guess, and Kid Greedo.
I guess he could. He probably should have done. Is gone back at some point in his life, but he didn't.
Anakin Skywalker should have done a lot of things, I feel like. So, yeah. But there you go. That's that, and they, so the three of them together, they move into the asteroid belt they were in before, and they managed to connect via the Force to perfectly navigate within the asteroid belt and also kill the enemies. And Anakin is kind of facilitating that until he blacks out, and he just can't hold the pressure anymore. And as he's blacking out, he's randomly jumping into hyperspace somewhere. So without the necessary calculations, he just immediately jumps. And exactly, and then Jason and Jaina, who want to join the fight again, get yelled at by an understandably unhinged Han and stay behind, while the Falcon now tries to follow Anakin. So they actually want to follow Anakin. Han is like, basically, get the fuck away, and he's following Anakin himself. Chapter 20. So Jason realizes that Anakin, with the teamwork that they displayed, we clearly showed him the limits of his philosophy, since he realized that the Force clearly was never and isn't just a way for one Jedi to find his place in the universe, but it can also be used as a tool, and specifically it can be used as a tool to connect to others in this specific circumstance. And how, if the Force can be used to create order, why shouldn't the Jedi do exactly that? And he now even thinks that it would be a good idea to start, maybe a Jedi squadron which operates in pure harmony, like they did for a moment in the asteroid belt. Man, a 3-dimensional character here has a belief, and that belief now is challenged. Crazy, right? You can have that, and
that's the dark side. That's all that is.
Beware the dark side.
Beware. Jason clearly has never heard the phrase "beware the dark side," which is probably a reason why he might be susceptible to it. But yeah, like, he's still. That's the great thing. The things that he says and the things that he believes, they are still not wrong. Like, you can still say, yeah, it's not. He is not aware of the entire picture. He doesn't know everything. Of course he doesn't. But he's not necessarily incorrect with what he believes. And even now that he has a practical example of how the opposite of his philosophy works in action, and how well that works, and how it's, the fact that a Jedi squadron can act in such perfect harmony, it clearly kind of gives evidence to the fact that this might also be what it's supposed to do. Like, this is supposed to happen that way. And he's like, oh, damn, well, I didn't see the entire picture. Crazy. A character with depth and 3 dimensions. And Anakin now, that's also nice. Meanwhile, he himself thinks the opposite. And he thinks that if he was as well trained and as stable and, as having as much inner peace as Jason has, he would have been far better in battle than he turned out to be, because of course he couldn't handle the pressure of so much raw force power, and he blacked out. Wow, the other character who also wasn't wrong also now has his views challenged in a perfectly sensible and believable way.
No.
No, don't give any justification. Just say no.
Yeah.
That's all.
Have you thought about that?
I have thought about no, and I discarded it in like half a second. Weird how that happens, right? Yeah. The more I read through this book, in this book I still saw problems, but definitely once I reached Onslaught, I realized, like, I could have had this the entire time, and I was told, like, this is on the same level as what I had before. When it's just, it's so hilariously.
You got punked.
I got so scammed. Like, it's hilariously outgunning most of the Bantam shit. So perfect harmony,
Mm-hmm.
I understand. Yeah, maybe. In a way, if you think about it.
Yeah,
there you go.
About it. In the Young Jedi Knights books,
they did face off
unknowingly. I love that. It's such a yes. Sometimes when I even get nostalgic about the EU, I go through your old videos, Noah, with all these meme or the interviews of Denning.
Oh, yeah, the classics.
I try to watch I need to rewatch it, but there is the actual full plumber with the leaky pipes interview, and I really tried to understand what exactly a plumber with leaky pipes is supposed to mean, because I kind of don't want to know, but I also kind of want to know. I'm curious. Oh man, it's like the plumber with the leaky pipes. Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, exactly. And yeah, back with Dagara. So Dagara is worried because for a while now he hasn't heard anything about Carr, but he doesn't pursue any further action in regards to that because the battle at hand is taking his full attention. I feel like maybe I should have had somebody who he could have designated this work towards, but that's believable. Like, okay, yeah, the battle right now is far more pressing than what exactly happened to Yeoman Carr. So he got his priorities in order, so that's good. Yeah, and so what Belkaden turned into is it essentially went into a metamorphosis to eventually harvest corals from there. So the Yuuzhan Vong, or here specifically it was the Praetorite Vong, they have starfighters, and they're like everything is made from these corals. I think they're called Yorak corals. And on Belkaden, the whole change that the atmosphere and the nature went through was to set up a place where these corals could be farmed and harvested, essentially to build more ships at some point. So yeah, so that makes sense now. So now you understand what even the purpose of that whole thing was, because of course, if Yeoman Carr just wanted to kill the scientists, he could have easily done that at any point, but was more about that. And yeah, the next attack that they try to do is going to be on Destrillion. So Destrillion is the sister planet of Dubrillion, and what they are trying to do is to possibly let Yamask separate itself so that it can build a second base in another spot. And yeah, essentially this attack that they had for now was just to lure out the enemy and to find out more about their strength. So that's all very clear, especially of course if you get further and you see what other weapons the Yuuzhan Vong have. It's evident that this is not, they haven't, showed their most competent fighters yet. It's just to test the waters a bit and to see what the possibilities are. Yorick, was it? Yeah, Yorick corals. Yeah. Yeah, true. There's gonna be lots of tactics, I assume. Yeah, you have the Yogant core thing, you have the literal Dark Tide, and yeah, I mean, there's reasons why some characters don't necessarily want to use these tactics because they also you destroy everything, obviously, and it also takes lots of resources and whatnot. But we'll get to that later. Yeah, and we have that, and Han. Now Han he's angry with the kid, but he's also worried because kind of considering his last talk with Anakin. And yeah, he's just like in that moment he's realizing, fuck, now I might actually lose Anakin too, and I was so horrible to him. But they managed to find Anakin because Leia can, can spot Anakin because he's calling out with the Force and she can hear him, so that's nice. Chapter 21. Yeah, so on Dubrillion, a coral skipper, so that's the name of the starfighters, crashed down and still exists there. And Luke realizes that all occurrences that have been going on, like what's going on Balkadan and all of that, seem to be connected and lead to here. And he even sits himself down inside the living ship and listens to the Vong language from the pilot's helmet. And that's when Mara tells Luke about Chewie, which leads to a very emotional scene where he just has a brief moment of peace at night when Mara sleeps, and even hears Anakin calling out himself, knowing that Leia's about to find him. But yeah, he has that little moment of just peace when he thinks about Chewie's sacrifice. And yeah, then later on, Leia doesn't like they do in fact find Anakin, and as they reunite, Han, of course, like he instantly melts and he He doesn't accuse Anakin of anything anymore now that he managed to save him. He's still angry that he made him be afraid so much, and he said that he'd kick him to Coruscant if he ever did something like that again, which makes Anakin really happy because, of course, it immediately shows him that he
still cares. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Like the fact that this highly emotional moment, Chewie's death, happened right now, of course, doesn't mean that Han doesn't care about Anakin, even though one could believe that. I think that was a very nice scene of showing that to Anakin. Especially because, of course, Anakin is still a kid. Like, you don't want him to feel bad, and you don't want him to be shunned by his father. But so you, of course, feel really nice if you see a moment of love from Han towards him. And yeah, so 3PO is there with Luke. And what was very interesting to me is that he, listening to the Vong language, actually understands it. It's even similar to one from an extinct culture within their galaxy, which that kind of seemed to interest me because I wasn't sure from the way he said it if that was just to me, like if that was just supposed to be like an offhand comment, like, oh yeah, there was this culture at some point and whatever, or if that maybe leads to something or that's going to be brought up again. But yeah, 3PO actually manages to perfectly understand the Vong language, so maybe that's going to have an explanation, or maybe that's just a coincidence because, that culture at some point existed and had a similar language. But yeah, there you go. Yeah, probably. And I mean,
a lot more Sabak games.
A lot more Sabak games. Yeah, but in the next book, he isn't really angry that much anymore. I think
it's more of just hurt. It's just a hole
depression.
that seeing Anakin constantly is opening up.
Yeah, exactly. It's not even necessarily his fault. It's just, well, Anakin is the guy connected to that whole ordeal, and so that's the side of him just makes him remember.
And I guess spoiler, it's going to last a few books later, but
I can tell. Yeah, it's yeah. Oh man, well, there you go. Yeah. So we have that, and yeah. So the chorus skippers, they actually move from shooting, so that they have turrets and they kind of can move by shooting them, because of course the thing with that biotech is, well, they have no engines, they have no shields, they don't, they basically have like the same kinds of turrets that others have, only with some kind of plasma projectile, but essentially the entire technology has to be thought again. So how does a biological thing that's made of corals move? Well, okay, it's gonna have these things where the gravitation helps, and the turrets do their own thing, and that's always kind of interesting. And yeah, it even gets fuel by like eating specific boulders, because of course then it's gonna be fueled up by regular gasoline or whatever. So that's also an alternative, feeding it also some other natural resource. And yeah, Luke now can tell that there is an extragalactical force at work. It's clearly hostile with organic, possibly superior tech, and they are evidently on the attack. So yeah, it's a nice way where he kind of summarizes to himself, to the other characters, but also to the reader, like, okay, this is like the status quo. We have these guys, they are hostile, biotech, and they're on the move. It's a nice way of just sometimes like having this little moment in between where you, like, get to breathe, and it's just that's how it is right now. Probably it does beg the question of how would there be a extinct race with a similar language if presumably the Vong weren't in the galaxy, but maybe that's just me talking about things that I haven't read about yet. So we'll wait until I've read everything so I get the full context. That is true, I guess. Yeah. To a degree, they are similar because they are humanoids.
Yeah. Oh, this reminds me, you're on the book right now. where it's pointed out the female Vongs are very attractive.
I've heard about that, and it's kind of funny to me. Like the Vong males are really ugly. Nobody thinks they're nice looking, and the Vong females are very hot. That's pretty hilarious, actually. Okay, yeah. That may just be it. I mean, yeah, the fact that the Vong are humanoid, it kind of presumes that there's still some connection and similarities to the galaxies of the regular Star Wars universe. So, yeah, you would have to assume that that's somehow justifiable. Yeah. So, chapter 22. Yeah, so we have the New Republic wanting to attack Helska 4, and we have a Corellian in charge. His name is Rojo, Royo. I don't know. I don't know what to call him. I'll call him Rojo. It sounds the least weird. Yeah, he's fully confident that their force that they amassed is enough to attack Helska, and they don't want to wait for backup. And Leia, of course, wants them to wait for backup, but since she indeed has no formal authority, and she can't still make the soldiers listen to everything that she says, like she did in, I think, Planet of Twilight or something, she literally can't do anything about it. She has to accept that they will attack without any backup. And it was weird because like there is no actual way anyone could possibly know how much of an attacking force would be enough. It's not even false confidence or arrogance. It's just like you clearly have lack of knowledge, and it's kind of absurd in a way. But yeah, where the priest is introduced. I mean, I had a priest, Harar, yeah, that. Oh, I guess a female.
A female priest will show up here.
Oh, okay, yeah, Harar is
We're not shaming. Harar is a very good-looking priest as well.
I mean, he looks, I think, kind of ugly, but he is a male, so of course he wouldn't be a good-looking one. Wait, there is some. If I look at the cover, I mean, there is a man, there is a furry humanoid species. I mean, no, that doesn't look like a Vong. I don't know who the woman in the middle of the cover is, but she doesn't look fully human. I guess she looks weird a bit. But yeah, you can remember that, Jason. I'll have a look at her. And yeah, so Luke wanted to go to Helska 4 with the ship, I think with the coral skipper that they have, and even with the Ooglith and the breathing device that they have. So yeah, the Vong also have a biological breathing device that enables them to breathe underwater. That one's very disgusting because it's like, I think, one giant tentacle that shoves itself down your throat, and it's very, I mean, it's supposed to be, it does its job, but it's kind of disgusting. She looks like Naked Palpatine gang versus Prefect Horror gang. I don't ever want to think about Naked Palpatine, but we will at some point cover Dark Empire, so oh well. Yeah. And so, yeah, Luke wants to go to Helska 4 with essentially in full Vong gear, and Mara follows him there with her cargo ship. But Jason and Jaina, because they think Mara needs rest, and Luke would be better, like if he accompanied the fleet, they move into the ships and they fly themselves. Yeah, so I'm like, okay, they just do that, and yeah, Han also wants to bring Lando along. Lando doesn't want to, and I kind of liked how Han just clearly didn't give a fuck whether Lando wanted to come along or not. He just tells him, "You'll accompany me," and himself, Anakin, Leia, and Lando will fly the Falcon along with the New Republic fleet, while Lando leaves. He leaves behind his fleet at the sister planets, and Kip will come along and also lead his own starfighter squadron. And yeah, Jaina, she ejects Jason onto the planet, so that part that was supposed to be Luke, and he escapes she escapes the coral skippers as long as she can. She's flying around the sun, and it's essentially making it difficult for them to fully navigate as well. because her only advantage is her armor, essentially. So she's trying to utilize that by flying close to the sun, which is much more dangerous to the coral skippers. And she gets saved by the then approaching fleet. And Jason quickly realizes that while he's using the Uglith and the Gnolith is the breathing device, that scars and tattoos seem to represent social standing in the Vong culture, because he himself, he has no scars, so he's looked at in an inferior way, basically.
Very low level.
Very low level, exactly, yeah. Because the more scars you have, the more tattoos you have, the higher your social status is. That's how it works. And Jason manages to find Danny, who actually was, so they caught cries of help, and they assumed it might have been Miko Reglia, because Miko was still there then. But no, it turns out that Danny was actually the one who sent him cries for help through the Force. And Miko himself, he starts fighting the Vong as they try to escape. He is apparently a shell of a man, because Yamosk has in some ways broken him. And as I said, that there's no clear explanation for what exactly happened to him. I just thought, like, well,
he was just tortured, basically, off screen.
He was tortured, yeah. That's whatever exactly that means, but that's what happened. They're taking the lead to something that is never going to happen again after NJO. That's so sad. It is. I mean, I think that scene where they break into the ship and fly it, so Mara and Luke can't do it. I was also like, maybe that was too easy to do, but it's nice that they are actually centerpieces of the story and they're doing protagonist things, because how could you not possibly understand that at some point that needs to happen if you want to tell more stories in the future? Well, the older characters need to step back and the younger characters need to do shit. Great. Can't look forward to reading that. Exactly. Because just a punk. I mean, kind of, but poor boy. Chapter 23. So Anakin, in the battle, he observes the Vong, and he sees that the way they're working together is kind of similar how he did with Jason and Jaina. So I was like, okay, it's clear that they will realize the purpose of the Yamosk then pretty soon. They are too coordinated, essentially, and the New Republic Star Destroyer, that Rojo is manning, is going down. I was like, I mean, kind of good riddance, to be honest. He acted like a pretty worthless idiot, and I was like, hey, that for me was a symbolic scene of the Bantam era, symbolically dying too, finally, because that really read like a Bantam era artifact to me. And so Jason and Danny, they are fighting the Vong, and Miko, during that fight, he gets his battle spirit back, and he manages to rip off the Uglith and the Gnolith from some Vong, which, because they're in ice cold water, it means instant death to him, basically. But he also dies himself, so he dives after the Vong to make sure that they can't crawl back up out of the water again. And that's where Miko himself dies. And there you go. That was it, really.
With Miko dying, I guess that brings the total number of Jedi down to 99.
I guess, now we're at 99. So
and then I get, because Danny isn't a Jedi yet, so
exactly, but hey, I'm sure she will have a long, prosperous career as a Jedi along with Jason. I mean, first of all, the name is so cool. Like, it will never not be cool, Star Destroyer, and especially in German, it also sounds awesome. And the fact that New Republic is also using them, even though the name is clearly an Imperial one, I think it's great. But there you go. That's it. And everyone is essentially waiting around because they know that Jason is on the planet, so they don't want to leave without him, but they're also feeling the pressure of the battle. And just barely, Danny and him managed to escape, which was neat. Chapter 24. So Jason finally can take a breath. He can chill for a moment, and Danny is there, who he of course is immediately smitten with, and she's quite upset emotionally over what she had to live through the past, days or weeks or whatever it's been. And he tries to comfort her, which is pretty nice. She tells everyone about the Yamusk, and all the force sensitive people felt the power of the thing, and even interfered with the Falcon's instruments, I think, the Yamusk itself. So evidently something's going on that can't be related to the Force, but well, it's having an actual impact that the Jedi can feel. It's like, okay, well, something is special about the war coordinators. And you have this feeling that the situation seems helpless now, because they'd need essentially half the fleet to destroy Helska 4 entirely, which is essentially their plan. Like, we'll just have to destroy this place. And then I thought, like, I guess if there was a Death Star, that thing could just literally move in and destroy it. That's the only purpose that place more or less supposed to have. So that was kind of fascinating to me. And just that fantasy of, hey, if the Galactic Empire at its peak were to fight against the Vong, how good of a job would they have done? It's just a fascinating, like, what if scenario to me. So and what Anakin's idea is how to defeat them, because well, they can't use that many ships to actually destroy the planet, is to use condensation to essentially get the entire place to cool down so much that the Yamusk dies. They explain that they are learning about these basic, like, physical principles at the Praxium, which to me almost makes it seem as though the Praxium wasn't a total waste of time, and as though they are actually doing something useful there. That was nice. Anjo is good at gaslighting you about what you think is actually happening. So there you go. So for Lando, he still has shield ships that he used to protect himself against the sunlight at Nuklon, whatever, and these ships can essentially reflect the sunlight, and I assume they will do that, like, reflect it into Helska 4 directly. And it seems that in that moment, as it's happening, it's Yamusk itself is also providing energy, because I guess he has some energy that is also powering up these shield ships to reflect that back onto the planet. And Dagora, he realizes that they have seen these shield ships, but they have no idea what exactly they're doing, because when they were, I think, on Debrillion, they only looked after ships which had an obvious military purpose, and the shield ships don't have an obvious military purpose, so they don't actually know what they're doing. It's like, okay, that is a lack of knowledge that is, like, understandable, because it's explained and you understand they have limited time. They need to study as much as they can, and of course they'd only look at the ships that are clearly designed to be weapons. So that was nice. And during the fight, the Jade Saber actually almost crashes down into Helska 4, but Luke manages to help them by, what he's doing is he's flying upside down beneath the ship, and he's using his repulsors to essentially give it height again, which was like a really cool and creative solution to almost crashing down into the planet. And but with that, he himself sacrificed his own height, and he's far longer on the planet than he intended to be. And the planet then is literally exploding, because all the ice that is now being created is, of course, expanding, because it's expanding more than water is usually in its fluid form, and it literally has the planet as a whole exploding, and the moment that the Yamask dies, the Vong lose their ability to coordinate anymore, and Han is about to leave. Where he's realizing that he's about to do the same that Anakin had to do, which is, wait, but kind of think that he might save somebody, might not, but he would actually doom everybody else because Anakin, he also made the decision to, before that, move away instead of trying again to help Chewie and possibly doom all the civilians that were on his ship. And Han is realizing that he's now doing the same thing. Where, like, I really want to save Luke, but if I stay here for longer, I will actually pull more people into death than if just Luke were to die. But yeah, there is that moment then when Luke just barely manages to arrive, and ultimately he doesn't need to make that difficult choice. And yeah, that whole battle just was pretty cool. And chapter 25. So everyone now is starting to prepare for the new tasks. Mara will retreat to a calm and simple planet, and she thinks about, they think about which possible ones there would be. Dagobah is even mentioned as a possible planet where she can meditate in peace, essentially, and fight her battle, like her illness alone. And yeah, Luke has the vial that they found on Belkadan, and will try to find something, to do something with it, to maybe convince the New Republic that this is a serious threat now. And yeah, Leia, who wasn't a politician beforehand, is now the ambassador of Debrolian and the entire sector, and she's hoping to convince the council of, well, everything basically that's going on. And Nomenor, he decides to infest some other planet with hatred against the New Republic. After his previous work tied down their troops before, which still that still sounded kind of a bit dumb to me, but yeah, and apparently he somehow gets the reports from the battle going on. I don't know exactly how that worked, but I guess
this is the New Republic. Everyone's a spy, remember?
That's true. I mean, yeah, I guess maybe that's it, but somehow he gets the reports about the battle. And yeah. So there you go. Yeah, they should have tried before when Anya Galandro literally yeeted her out of the equation. Yeah, Jason rescuing Danny, that was nice. Like a nice character saving a nice character. Imagine that. Yeah, like, oh, they're learning about basic chemistry, about condensation and whatnot. That's crazy. That's something that they can do. Decent at worst sounds like a deal I'm willing to take. Although I think, Jason, it was you who told me, like, if I read Starbust, I'm supposed to try and make sense of where some specific ship is, because that's unclear apparently. Or like a strike team or something, you said. So yeah, I would see what the worst kind of space battles are. Yeah, there you go. And chapter 26. Yeah, and Han. So Han has a much needed peaceful moment at Cernpedal with Leia. He just, looks at the scenery. He even cries a bit and reminisces about his past with Chewie. And yeah, so what Han does is he's speaking about the bubble that he built around them. So them being Luke, Leia, himself, Chewie, Lando, Mara, his children, obviously. Even the droids he mentions. And within that bubble, there's only these people that he thought could never have something like that happen to them. And he realized that changed even when Mara got sick, which was pretty nice. But now that Chewie died, and the kids are out there actually fighting military battles too, he knows that bubble is gone. And it makes sense for him to think like that. But to me, it also sounded like, well, that sounds kind of like meta commentary about, well, we have now opened this Pandora's box where we can, in theory, kill all these main characters that I think previously were kind of understood to be unkillable. yeah, that's it. I think I've seen others extrapolate like a justification to kill other main characters out of this, which I'm like, I don't think that's valid. Well, it worked with Chewie, doesn't necessarily work with others. But yeah, there you go. And that's it. That's the entire book. We've managed to finish Vector Prime. Woohoo! Oh man, it's half NJ, half Proto Denningverse, so that's gonna be an interesting distinction. Man, Jesus, that took a bit. So, do you guys have any finishing thoughts about Vector Prime? Like anything that we missed before?
Good. Just read this. Don't bother with anything before it.
Yes,
exactly.
There's different ways to approach it. If you were to ask me like, hey, I just kind of want to read stuff after Return of the Jedi, what do you recommend? Yeah, sure, I will recommend like Thrawn Trilogy, Jedi, Hand of Thrawn. That's kind of it, X-Wing if you feel like it. But yeah, if your goal is you want to read NJO because you've heard so much about it and 19-book series that sounds awesome to you, please just read Vector Prime. Like, if you honestly just want to read this, please just read this. Like, I tried, of course you can't just shut off your knowledge, but I really tried to look at this from the perspective of somebody who hasn't read anything before. And everything that could be of importance from other books is referred to here. I mean, in the first page, Leia calls Mara Jade her sister-in-law. So you may know, okay, Luke is married. Sure. And Luke has an academy. It's on Yavin 4. That seems to okay. Yeah, sure. He has 100 Jedi. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, Leia. She used to be chief of state. She retired now. Yeah, sure. Yeah. And if you then feel like reading other stuff, go back and read the good stuff. Don't read the bad stuff. Read the good stuff. But yeah, and yeah, I thought that was a fantastic start into the series. Characters and enemies are handled well. To me, the side characters in the New Republic, around Romamul, the scientists, and the people of Cernpadal, to me, were kind of dumb, and they just served to advance the plot, kind of shunning off a bit of logic, but still, it wasn't. I mean, it's only the side of the side characters, so it doesn't seem as bad in comparison to others, where like main characters are really shit, actually. But yeah, overall though, this sets a very nice tone. You get at least you get a sense of what's to come, like what the tone of this series will be. And yeah, like when I finished this book, I said like around 7 to 8 out of 10 is what I think the book is. I don't know what you would give this book out of 10. Maybe if you have a rating.
7.5, I think. It's a very solid start.
Yep.
For greatness to come. I like.
Yeah.
It's strong. It doesn't make me want to die. Yeah.
That is very important during a book, I think. Yeah. Maybe Noah, do you have like out of a gut feeling an out of 10 rating for this book?
I'm gonna say 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think 7.5 might be what I also would say. Maybe 8, around there definitely. I think this book is. Yeah, I can tell this is not. I mean, immediately afterwards, I know that this is not the best that the NGO has to offer, which is definitely good. Like, if that is the worst book in your series, I mean, that would be something. That would be a very good start to a series. Yeah, but I think that's a fair rating. Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, if that book was shittier, it might have turned out very differently. Who knows? Yeah, okay, there you go. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's actually all I have to say about this. So really excited that we managed to finally get going with this. I'm happy.
It almost didn't happen.
Yeah, it almost looked like I was DDoSed by somebody who doesn't want me to speak about good books, want me to suffer through Bantam slop for the rest of my life. But finally, it worked. So yeah, I think we're done here. We don't have anything more to say. First EU book. That's kind of special. It sold me a better EU than I actually got down the line. Yeah, it's. I mean, my
first finding that out too.
Oh yeah, he's like. I don't think I've ever heard about anybody who quit NJO mid-series to go back, especially like before Edge of Victory, right?
I think he finished Jedi Eclipse and then decided to go back and read Bantam.
Oof, man, poor guy. Yeah, that sold me a better EU than I actually got down the line. That's very, very true. It was definitely true for me in the beginning, where I just looked for books that were recommended and that seemed to be to my liking. Like my first EU book was Plagueis. What do you think? What kind of EU image do you think I was sold that was ultimately bullshit? Yeah. No, that's definitely a thing. So yeah, we're done here. I think there's nothing more to say. I think next Saturday should actually work for me so that we speak about the Chewbacca comic and about Onslaught, so book 2 and book 1 of the Dark Tide duology. That should actually work for me. Otherwise, you'll see when I set up the stream. And yeah, if you listen for this long, I thank you for listening. Hope you had fun, and I see you guys. Bye-bye.